2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2. 2, 2, 1, 2. Ready to go, ready to go, ready to go.
Can I have everyone's attention, please? We're getting ready to start the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus Minority Business Forecast, so if everyone can take a seat, we would appreciate it.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Please welcome the chair of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, Representative Dr. Ivory Thigpen.
Well, let me begin by saying welcome to everyone. I know that, as you will often hear me say, time is the most precious thing that we have. The fact that you've given up your time to be here says a lot. So we want to first say thank you, as well as welcome to the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus Minority Business Forecast. As stated, I am Dr. Ivory Thigpen. I am the current chair, and I always say current because I am not the first. There are great leaders who have come before me. Representative Pat Hennigan, we have Representative Jerry Govan, Representative John King, and others who have paved the way that continue to build upon the legacy that really this year we celebrate 50 years of existence and service and advocacy and education. In doing the welcome, let me also ask our members, if there are any South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus members, legislative members here, if you would stand at this time and be recognized, because as the chair, I do not do this work alone. We have a great number of individuals from across the state. We have them here. Please give them a hand. Our Chair-elect, Representative Annie McDaniel, that represents Fairfield County. I want to make sure we acknowledge her. But again, we hope we have some exciting information for you. We hope that it'd be an engaging dialogue. We not only want you to be present, we want you to participate. And without further ado, let me introduce to you our mistress of ceremony. She really needs no introduction. If you've ever been in her presence or had her lead any event, you know she is the definition of excellence. She contracts with the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, but more than that, she exemplifies what we believe is, in all areas of our state, black excellence in black business. None other. Please help me welcome Trey Taylor, our MC.
Thank you so much, Representative Thigpen. And again, thank you so much for joining us at the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus Minority Business Forecast. Now, we're bringing together South Carolina lawmakers and the state's most talented and prominent professionals and minority business leaders discussing topics and issues vital to the competitiveness and overall success of our state. If you are in the building and you have your cell phone, or if you are joining us virtually, please post, share, and tag someone you know that needs all of this important information and resources. Our first panel is about the 2023 state of the economy for South Carolina small and minority businesses. Please welcome our panelists. Our first one is Representative David Weeks. He represents District 51 in Sumter County and has served the House since 2001. He's also an attorney. Currently, Representative Weeks sits on the Ethics Committee and the Ways and Means Committee. Representative David Weeks. Also, Michael Jackson, not that one, but the one that, Shimon. He is an integral part of government relations for the South Carolina Port Authority. He was previously in the House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee as a budget analyst. Do you sing or dance? Oh, golly. You're wasting the name, man. Please welcome Mr. Will Friesen. He is our next panelist. He's Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. He is responsible for the development and management of the Chamber's overall government affairs, public policy strategy, and the organization's day-to-day lobbying activities. Please welcome our panelists. Y'all can clap right there. All right, so we're going to ask a couple of questions of our panelists, and if you have a question after the panel, please raise your hand and we'll get your question answered, okay? Also, if you are watching online and you have a question, please drop it in the chat and we'll try to get to your question also. Representative Weeks, let's start with you. We understand there is a version of the budget that passed the House this month and it's now in the Senate. Can you tell us some of the highlights from that version that passed the South Carolina House of Representatives, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I want you to know that Michael Jackson does do a pretty mean moonwalk. Don't let him fool you, all right? But South Carolina, the budget for the state of South Carolina every year, it originates in the South Carolina House of Representatives. This year's budget is approximately $38 billion. I had some specific amounts to throw out in various categories, but it's a little difficult for me to flip these pages and so hit each one of them. But let me give you a few highlights of some of the things that we were able to do this year. The budget priorities change, of course, from year to year. And our budget priorities for this past year concentrated in several areas. We have what you call recurring funds, which are funds that actually come every year. And then, of course, we have non-recurring money, which is money that may be used for one-time expenditures. What we did this year with our general fund budget in the recurring monies, we were able to, the revenue forecast was $1,181,000,000. We were able to allocate monies in several areas. Income tax reduction, which is one of the priorities and thrusts of this state, is to try to reduce taxes. Medicare, Medicaid, teacher salaries, which was extremely important. We're still far away from where we need to be in the state of South Carolina when it comes to paying our teachers. However, we were able to add additional money this year that would increase some of the amounts of salaries for a lot of our teachers, and also that little $350 that teachers get every year as a stipend. We were able to increase that by a small amount this year also. We were able to get a 3% or $2,500 increase in state employee salaries. And that was extremely important for the state, and particularly dear to the heart of several members of the Legislative Black Caucus. We were also able to, in looking out for our state employees, also able to continue to cover insurance payments for them, no out-of-pockets for them, and that helped a great deal. And that actually was something that we were extremely proud to be able to do. We have two reserve funds in this state, and we were able to allocate some monies to both the General Reserve Fund and also for the Capital Reserve Fund in case of emergencies and things like that. On the higher education front, we were able to continue with tuition mitigation. We were able to freeze tuition again for our young folk who attend our state colleges and technical schools. Very important. There was an emphasis this year also on the budget relating to retention, and that retention particularly in those areas of law enforcement and health staff. Our salary levels in the state of South Carolina still have a long way to go. And we sometimes lose a lot of great professionals because, quite frankly, we don't pay them enough. So the state has understood this and has seen this, and I think the budget writers are going to be doing even greater attempts in years to come to try to at least increase salaries on those levels and put us in a position where South Carolina can not only attract but also retain good folk in those areas. We're able to get a 1% pension increase in our state retirement fund, which is still not funded where it is, and it's still one of the areas that I think requires a greater attention from us even going forward. And of course, we always get this issue about the local government fund, $13.2 million this year, which is very good for local government. We always are concerned about education from the standpoint of how far back we got during COVID-19. And during that time, schools were closed, and of course we had something that was called virtual learning. Sometimes it worked in some areas, y'all know the deal, and other times it didn't work at all. And so we put forth an effort in this budget to try to do all we can to muster resources to try to at least bring our kids a little further along, those who are a little bit behind. And of course, there's always that emphasis on infrastructure when it comes to having access to broadband services. COVID taught us that we, quite frankly, weren't doing it too well in South Carolina. So we're getting better, and we were able to allocate resources for it. Last thing, and I won't take too long on just one question, but workforce development, which is extremely important. We got this emphasis, and our Department of Commerce has done an extremely good job. Our Chamber of Commerce has done a pretty good job in economic development. But one of the things that we need to do is make sure that we've got the workforce in place when we draw these industries here. And that is going to be a bigger problem in this state in days ahead, because South Carolina, quite frankly, has been very good at attracting industry. And with the last big announcement, we're talking about 4,000 jobs. Is that right, Ms. Annie? 4,000 jobs, it's a lot of people. It may seem like it is, but it's 4,000 good paying jobs, better than what we're paying now. But we got to have the workforce in place in order to have people ready to do that. Final, this is the real final, is, and I have to thank Ivory Thigpen, our Black Caucus leader. We are very interested in seeing minority contractors being able to bid on some of these projects when they come. And I thank you very much. That's worth a hand. Shout out to my brother on the left. But that's important. But in our dialogue, in our meetings with folk who are dealing with economic development, we find that one of the problems that we have is getting minority contractors in position to be able to qualify to bid on the projects. So the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus is even now in the process of having discussions with Commerce and with other stakeholders to see that we can have what I use the term shovel ready, which was the thing they used when they're trying to get these projects from the national government. I call them shovel ready persons who are willing to be prepared to bid on a project. If Scout Motors is coming to Richland County, coming to South Carolina, there ought to be minority contractors lined up to at least bid on some of the construction and services that's necessary for those kinds of businesses to survive in our state. And also, we need to get a little piece of that pie too. And so we're very, 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 very adamant about that. And that's one of our great thrusts with the Legislative Black Caucus.
Thank you, Representative Weeks. We're going to come back to you and ask a couple of more questions, but I want to go to you, Mr. Jackson. Tell us about the South Carolina Ports Authority. How has that impacted our economy here in South Carolina?
Thank you for the question. I think we're here. Okay. Thank you for the question. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here, Dr. Thigpen, Legislative Black Caucus. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So we'll start off. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's an honor to be here. When I was asked, I said we need to make sure that we're in the room to tell the story of the port. Yeah. My name is Michael Jackson. I'm manager of federal and state government strategy with the South Carolina State Ports Authority. As Representative Weeks was going through the budget, I was going down memory lane because when I was a staffer on House Ways and Means, I worked for Representative Weeks and basically did whatever he told me to do. So a lot of these things I remember as a staffer, but thankful to be here. So in regards to economic impact for the Ports Authority, the port impacts, $63 billion economic impact in the state. You're thinking 1 in 10 jobs is supported by the Ports Authority. You look at it, you equate it to a number, that's more than 225,000 jobs in the state, good paying jobs that's impacted by the port. There's a lot of efforts to make sure that when we're looking at contracts, what we do is build infrastructure. So when we're looking at contracts, we're looking at measures where we can ensure that everybody has an opportunity to bid on projects. And I think you have to be intentional about that. I never want to say, we're going to do something and we don't actually follow through with it. So I challenge our folks. We're putting together a minority business enterprise plan, which is going to have a target goal that 15% of the projects that's being bid, that minority businesses have an opportunity to do that. It's not perfect. It's a start, but I think once we do that, we can reevaluate it every year and then see if we can increase that. But there's a lot of measures that's going in place now that will hopefully help us reach that goal.
Thank you. Both Mr. Jackson and Representative Weeks, Mr. Freisen, have mentioned intentionality and making sure that minorities, black and brown people in South Carolina are in a position to bid on these government contracts. Can you tell us what the Chamber does and has in place to help those smaller minority businesses get prepared?
Yeah, absolutely. And want to start off, thank y'all for allowing us the opportunity to be here this morning and speak on behalf of the South Carolina Chamber and the state's business community. You know, one of the kind of common misconceptions about the Chamber is that we only represent the large multinational, you know, thousands of employers across the state, and that's not true. The majority of our membership are small businesses across South Carolina when you look at it. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning and lend our voice to this conversation. And before I answer that question, I do want to piggyback off of Michael's comments and on behalf of the business community, stress how important the port is to our economic ecosystem here. You know, it allows South Carolina companies to be globally competitive in an ever-changing marketplace. The fact that our port is as strong as it is allows us to get our goods to the market quickly. And anecdotally, our president and CEO was with the Charlotte Chamber of Commerce for a long time, and he used to share that when they were recruiting companies to Charlotte, they would talk about the port in South Carolina because that's how big of an asset it is to not just this state, but the entire Southeast. But going back to that, you know, one of the key things that we do at the State Chamber is focus on advocacy and policy development. We have different policy committees that meet pretty frequently to discuss legislation, to discuss public policy goals, what they want us to see us advocate for, what they think the state can do better. And we have a small business committee that's crucial to that. And, you know, when you think about things like last year's passage of the largest tax cut in state history, well, you think that maybe that's just coming from our tax committee and tax experts and folks that are focused on reducing business taxes. Well, that's not the case when you think about many small businesses are set up as S corporations, and they actually pay the individual income taxes, their rate. So we weren't out there advocating just on behalf of individuals in South Carolina. We were advocating on behalf of small businesses, and that's the type of different positions and policies that come in front of that committee. But one of the important things there is we try and bring a diverse range of issues in front of them and find out, okay, how will this impact small businesses across South Carolina? For example, Representative Jones has a good bill that's sitting out there right now in the Ways and Means Committee that awards tax incentives or tax credits for large employers who enter into contracts with small businesses across the state that leads to them expanding and growing and increasing the number of employees that they employ. That's something that we will take to our tax committee, our small business committee, and have asked them, hey, would this be good? Would this allow you to grow? Would this enter you into more 3-year contracts with large employers? And the answer is yes. But we get those folks together to find out what the impact is. Another example is lawsuit reform. That's a big priority for us this year. And again, most people think when we talk about that, that's trying to get the larger employers to pay lower insurance rates. That's not the case. We're talking to our small independent-owned trucking companies, you know, single operator. We're talking to the HVAC company that has a few, 5 to 10 employees across South Carolina that, you know, they have a pretty decent insurance policy, but nothing that's extremely high, but they are prone to potential lawsuits. So, you know, we're running those questions by them, trying to see what's best for the long-term future of the state's business community. But, you know, we don't really focus on more of the grant side of things from that perspective. We do have a foundation that's historically been focused on education and workforce. We have a program called the HBCU STEM program that's trying to train the next generation of leaders. You know, we're not really focused as of now on the growth of small businesses, but we have the ability to pivot. We get grants all the time from our member companies who are looking to make an impact in South Carolina, and so this is a potential avenue for them to explore going forward. But so in addition to that, in addition to our policy committees, we always host programs. We think it's important for small businesses to be in the room with some of these larger employers, again, to get access to these contracts. So whether that's through our small business day at the State House, whether it's through our workforce development symposium, things of that nature, we think it's important for folks to be in the room and be in the know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Representative Weeks, I want to bring it back to you and ask you, what can the South Carolina General Assembly do to consistently support minority and small businesses in South Carolina?
Well, I think there are several things, and I think things fall within at least 3 to 4 categories. One, of course, is regulations and the amount of regulations that are imposed statutorily through the passages of our various legislative enactments. And we have to make sure that we don't keep things so tight that you can't function freely in order to be able to get what I consider to be your share or our share of what the state has to offer. The second thing, of course, is making sure that we consider small businesses whenever we're talking about income tax rollbacks, making sure that the tax climate is favorable and not strangling the small businesses. I know the big businesses get a lot of breaks. We want to make sure that the small businesses are able to get that also. And I think another area is the area of tax credits, which I appreciate you mentioning that piece of legislation by Mr. Representative Jones here, because that's an extremely important piece. But there are other measures that have been introduced this year that provide tax credits, which helps a great deal, and even 2 or 3 small business tax credit bills has been filed this year, have not reached the House floor yet, but those are things that you sort of want to keep an eye out. And of course, finally, anything that deals with economic development, incentives to develop, particularly in our rural areas, are extremely important to us, but in all areas, because when those opportunities present themselves, we will certainly have the business resources, small business resources available to assist in the process.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Jackson, I want to come back to you. I understand that cruises leaving from South Carolina ports will cease next year. Why was that decision made, and how will that impact South Carolina's economy?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I've been living and breathing it for the last couple months. But it's a business decision. We decided not to renew the contract with Carnival, and that property is just going to be redeveloped, which is going to add more of an economic impact to the state of South Carolina, particularly in Charleston. Cruise business is a tough business, but when you look at the numbers, the impact that redeveloping that property is going to have opposed to what we're making with the cruise line, it's going to be more impact. So it was a decision that was made by the port with input from local leaders, the city, conservation groups. So a lot of folks in the room making that decision, but at the end of the day, I think it was just a business decision.
Mm-hmm. How is that? Do you know how that, that space is going to be redeveloped? You said it would be redeveloped. No.
Yeah. So we so they started the process and allowed for public input. We had a number of stakeholder meetings, and we're still in the process of compromising. What do we want to do with the city? But it'll have green space, hotels. You'll have green space hotels. There's some other things that we're going to add as well. But we're still in negotiation phase with the city, and we want to make sure what we do, everybody's on board with it. So as we continue to put that plan forward, I think you'll see more of what's going to be there. But overall, I think we feel, and the city feels, that it's going to be a good project.
All right, thank you. Michael Jackson is with the South Carolina Ports Authority. You are watching, if you're watching us online, the annual Minority Business Forecast from the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus. If you're online or if you're in the room, please post and share so we can get this important conversation to the masses. Does anyone have any questions in the audience for any of our panelists? Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Can you stand and tell us your name and your question, please? How could you forget that?
Thank you for the question. And as I was traveling here, I was actually digging in some of our procurement stuff, and all of the projects and the bidding is posted online. So the public has access to any projects that you want to bid on. One thing that we're looking at, and thanks to the legislature for funding the Naval Base Automotive Facility project, where we're having near dark rail in Charleston. It was $550 million that the legislature supported. But with the big projects like that, we look at trying to break them up. So if you've got a smaller business that want to bid on the contract, we want to be able to give them the opportunity to do it. Because a lot of times when we're doing these contracts, they're big contracts, so breaking them up just allows everyone to have the opportunity. But it's posted online, and it's available to the public. Yeah.
Thank you. We have another question here. Can you stand, tell us who you are?
Yes, good morning.
And there's a mic right there.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lynn Hutto, and I'm helped to manage the Minority Business Accelerator Program with the Columbia Chamber. A question for Mr. Freisen. I noticed that you said that currently you're not focused on small business, and I don't want to misquote you, but right now, but I want to ask, in light of all of the economic opportunity with the ports and all the things that are going on, how can you all rise that to a level where businesses, where you start to focus on that, or at least put it on your upcoming agenda?
Yeah, no, thank you. And I'll clarify. On our legislative agenda, we do focus on small business efforts and improving the business climate for small business in South Carolina. But when we look at our foundation, which is the Education and Workforce Foundation, that's where we don't have a small business accelerator or a minority business accelerator that the Greenville Chamber, Charleston Chamber, Columbia Chamber have. Historically, we've been using those funds in our foundation to go towards, like I mentioned, the HBCU STEM program, which is in partnership with the 7 four-year institutions here in South Carolina. We annually have about 30 students that get to go through that program. They get to go visit businesses across South Carolina, learn about different STEM careers, what that looks like. They get mock interviews to get prepared for graduation and those opportunities. So we've been on the workforce development front. But I think, to your point, as we look at economic development and growth, there's opportunity for our foundation to grow and follow in the footsteps or partner with the other chambers across the state in either small or minority business acceleration. And that's something that we've been talking about intentionally within our team. And as we continue to grow our diversity, equity, and inclusion center, this is the type of topics and conversations that we've had. So there's definitely opportunity there, and there's been a great model to follow across the state.
Hold on a second. This gentleman has the mic. Thank you. Please state your name and your question.
My name is Louis Lynn, and I'm a small business, kind of sort of retired small businessman, but mine is more of a comment in that you guys, what you're talking about worked. My firm was National Small Business of the Year, and all the things that you're talking about now, they worked for me. Base closure, South Carolina DOT, school rebuilding, it all worked. And the guy, and many of you, I came to you asking questions, but the programs you're talking about now worked. And the only thing I promised as I got contracts was, you get me in the door, I'm not going to disappoint you. But all these programs, all the things you're talking about, the chamber, Michael Jackson, you guys, it all works. So I just want folks to know that I've been there, done that, and it works.
Thank you, Dr. Lennon. We're going to hear more from him a little bit later on. If you'll wait for the microphone to get to you.
Thank you, Senator Vernon Stevens, District 39. Mr. Jackson, last year we appropriated roughly $500 million you talked about, but we also put in on the other side about $2 million for the Jasper Port and impact that would have on the lower portion of South Carolina and the huge fiscal impact it's going to have. And as you look at small businesses and how we can grow them, that is another opportunity. Can you expound upon that?
No, thank you for the question, Senator, and that's a good point, and it's conversations that we're having often. We understand that there's opportunity there, the Jasper report. I think we want to make sure we get it right, but it's something that we're talking about often, particularly with the members that represent Jasper. And we've got a joint venture with Georgia, so we just got to figure out the best path forward with that. But it is high on the radar, and I think we need to make sure that we get it right. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have about 10 more minutes in this panel. Does anyone else have a question? We have a question here. I am.
Thank you, Pam Green. I'm with Richland County, but I'm going to speak more so from as a state perspective. With Dr. Lynn talking about how the programs work for his business, and having been in the small business space, say on the private sector side from a lending perspective, and then having an opportunity to work on the governmental side from the minority certification and trying to help these businesses build capacity and sustainability. What I've seen in my time in this is that the fervor that I feel as though Dr. Lynn experienced, these businesses aren't experiencing it right now. So my question is, especially from a state perspective, how do we make sure that the programs that are in place for minority businesses, from certification to workshops, that they're properly funded, but that you're able to hear the voices from those agencies? Because currently with the state, there is a certification program, and it's lacking in some areas, and I don't know that that is before you all. So my question is, how do we stay in front of that and make sure that those offices are being heard and supported in the way that's necessary to grow our small businesses, especially with the opportunities that are coming? Scout is all over the place. And then the county itself has a $40 million project where we're actually going to be putting some things out there as well. So not discounting that because we're in different eras, but it is what I've seen in at least the last 7 years, that there is a difference as far as opportunities for minority businesses.
Thank you for your question. Representative Weeks is going to respond.
I think it's important that you understand your role in the advocacy process. And sometimes I think we sort of get in a day late and a dollar short on some of these things because we don't do it up front. A big statement that I want to make now, which might even shock some of my colleagues: don't assume that we know everything. Even though, did you know that? Even those of us those of them who think they know everything, they don't. And a lot of times you have a practical familiarity with what some of the problems are, be it process or otherwise, that quite frankly, we don't know about. We just assume certain things. So I think it's important that you reach out when you see problems in the system, problems that can be dealt with from a legislative standpoint, and better inform us of what those things are so we can at least explore and possibly put together what we need to do from the legislative standpoint to make things better and to make corrections in the process. So I'm a real big on advocacy. The advocacy can be to us directly, or the advocacy can be to an agency that would be responsible for doing what you want done. And keep us informed. Believe it or not, we actually do want to, we do want to know, we do want to hear from you. We do want to know what those problems are, because when we make them better, the state is better in the process. So please remember that. We don't know it all, and some of us don't know much of it at all. All right? Okay.
Thank you, Representative Weeks. Mr. Fryson?
I want to piggyback on Representative Weeks' comments and probably say that something that he would want to say but doesn't know that he can say, but that's that your legislators would much rather hear from you on the ground, what you're experiencing, your communities, your small businesses, than from a paid lobbyist like myself who's in the State House 24/7, standing in the lobby all day. I mean, there's an important role that we play as representatives of the business community, but what matters more to them is what small businesses in their district see on a day-to-day basis. So I just want to underscore Representative Weeks' point on advocacy, but also say that there's a responsibility that organizations like the Chamber can do to amplify some of these programs. We talked about workforce development, appreciate the legislature's focus on that this year. It's crucial to the future of South Carolina's economy. But as we talk to our members across the state, we go into different communities. I think, for example, we were in Horry County this summer having a discussion about apprenticeships and the programs out there. Well, sometimes folks don't realize that the technical college system or that their local high schools have youth apprenticeship programs that they can access. They just don't know about it. They would participate if they had the information, because there's a lot of resources out there. There are tax credits out there for that. So, that's on organizations like us and other business associations across the state to help amplify what's out there for folks and how they can access that. And then we can go talk to the legislature too, or more importantly, we can direct their constituents to them and so they can hear from them. But just want to underscore that.
Thank you, Mr. Frison. You had a question?
Yeah. Well, I have a statement that piggybacks off of a question. My name is Tanya Bussey. I am a bus. Oh, I can't take my mask. But my name is Tanya Bussey. I'm with Bussey Transport down in Plum Branch, South Carolina. I've been a certified DBE for 13 years. I've never had a contract. And it wasn't until the federal meeting that I got introduced to Apex Accelerators, and I also got introduced to Robinson Family Trucking. And they've helped develop my company more in 6 months than my entire 13 years as being a DBE. And I want to know if you all are working on trying to develop, redesign the program where it assists and help us grow, help us learn how to bid. And like he said, break out contracts so that we can bid our truck services ourselves, because dump trucks cannot function and profit off of $75 an hour when it takes at least $130,000 a year to operate a good dump truck. Now, if we're running around with dump trucks that are falling apart and don't have insurance and tires are blowing out in the highway, if that's the service you want, the $75 is what you're going to get.
Good morning. I want to thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to come here to say a few things and try to get some help. I'm Tommy Robinson with Robinson Family down in Utahville, South Carolina. I'm a disabled veteran. I served in the U.S. Air Force. I'm a Customs and Border Protection officer for 35 years. I retired in 2011. I was inspired when I went to a meeting with the DOT a few months ago, and all of these folks here are DBE's operator, and they was complaining about, like she just said, they can't operate for $75 an hour. So what I've done, I'm going to ask you all first to help us. We have problems with insurance. I run 8 trucks right now, and it costing me over $200,000 a year just for insurance. And also, the procurement system needs to have some changes. South Carolina DOT tells us every day that they're doing the best they can, and I think they are. But they say that the laws in South Carolina, if a prime, when they have the business section online, where they are letting lists where they bid every other Tuesdays every month. But the problem with that, the primes and the extranet on that list, on those particular jobs that are coming up for letting, the prime don't even, for those projects, the primes don't have to list themselves on those projects, so you can send them a bid to give you an opportunity to bid on a job. And DOT tells us that because of the laws and regulations in South Carolina, they don't have to do it. And they don't, because I've bid on several jobs. I've been bidding ever since 2016. I haven't received a project from the state yet. So these operators, I've been mostly getting my projects from private contractors like Landmark Construction, the cement plant in Holly Hill. Those are all private companies that I've been working for and been able to give these guys an opportunity to work along with me and makes at least $120 per hour on their trucks every day. So I'm just asking y'all to help me help these guys and everybody else that calls me, because I'm getting a lot of calls. I got a guy coming from Sumter. He's a veteran of 30 years in the Air Force, just retired, said that he wants to start a trucking company. I told him, I said, you need to buy new equipment because you can't operate on old equipment. So get new equipment, and I give them free parking at my place so they don't have to incur that expense. So please help me to help these guys and anyone that want to come down there and work in the Charleston area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your question and comment, and thank you for your service. Before we get to, oh, you had a question also, sir?
I was going to wait to see if anybody was going to answer his first.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Price,
well, just for the first thing, thank you for that. And I want to quickly thank the General Assembly for their focus over the past number of years on making it easier for veterans to get into the workplace. We passed, last year they passed the military retirement income tax exemption for veterans. So South Carolina is a destination for retired military, and thank you for your service. But I will focus quickly on just the insurance side. I mentioned one of our top priorities this legislative session is focusing on lawsuit reform, because we know that that's right now the legal system when it comes to liability and accidents is really stacked against trucking companies and those operators, and particularly, as you mentioned, the new individual that wants to start his own fleet with one truck. We're hearing stories out there of folks that get into an accident, they own one truck, they want to have the American dream, but they get into an accident and all of a sudden their insurance premiums go through the roof to where they can't afford it. And so they have to go back and work on a fleet. So looking to enact some small lawsuit reform this year that makes sure that folks that are less than 50% responsible for an accident cannot be held liable for 100% of the damages is something that we think is crucial. We think right now, again, that there are a lot of trucking companies that are being targeted for what is called reckless actions, and that's causing insurance rates to go through the roof and premiums to just skyrocket. So just answering that's a big priority for us, but not just the chamber, but the entire state business community is working on that issue. So we're working hard on that.
Representative
Yes,
Weeks,
I
did you
want
want to
to
respond?
thank the gentleman for what you are doing and what you have done. You're a fine example for small business person for the state, and I appreciate that very much. What you did identify was the kind of thing that I was speaking about earlier, about us not knowing. And I can tell you that our leader, Leader Thigpen, is very, 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 very much interested in knowing how the caucus can assist small minority businesses. And so if you come up with these kinds of problems in the operation of it, or it could be a regulatory issue, whatever, if it's within the purview of the General Assembly, it at least puts us in position to know what it is, because I really wouldn't have known it had you not said that today. Let us know what it is, and let's see what we can do to try to make the things a little bit better for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think we have two final comments.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Geathers. I am a former small business owner. I successfully sold my company in 2012 and graduate from the DBE program. One of the most interesting things, thank you for your honesty too, Senator Jackson. Small business initiatives get pushed out by the state every year, every other year. They keep moving the needle for it. And I think the problem is you're solving a problem through your initiatives that you are not really aware of what you're trying to solve. So it usually misses the mark. My question is, why won't the state do a disparity study? Been talking about this since 2012. I said I'd never say this in a public forum, but it is what it is today. Why doesn't the state do a disparity study to highlight the gaps, the problems in state procurement, the gaps that small businesses have? Because small business is a misnomer term. A small business can be a $35 million business with 399 employees, but it can also be, Johnny and them in the backyard with the shack. So we need to figure out how to bridge that gap, because owners like this deserve the opportunity to scale their businesses, not just be a business. So I'm proposing that the caucus look at doing a statewide disparity study to really highlight those gaps and give you the ammunition that you need to go fight for small businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Gathers. The final comment from the audience.
Good morning. My name is Heather Singleton, and I am a PR consultant here in the Richland County community who serves both nonprofits and businesses alike. And I guess great minds are thinking alike because my question or my comment was directly related to what you've just mentioned. As we talk about what that study looks like, let's dive a little bit deeper and figure out what implementations we can put in place for the state of South Carolina, specifically for streamlining RFP processes and making them well known throughout the community, because it's kind of like if you don't know where to look, then you just don't know where to look and you hear word of mouth, which is fine. But if we're talking equity, if we're talking about really thinking about minority-owned businesses that may or may not be at those proverbial tables, then you're missing a large subset of the population. And also with that, advertising these professional development opportunities, even similar to these conversations that we're having today, and making sure that the community knows what's happening. And I think what's not happening is we've got a lot of chiefs, but nobody's sitting and actually listening at this table. So if we can streamline these processes and figure out what the true needs are and actually ask what those needs are, I feel like we would grow by leaps and bounds throughout our community. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Do either of you gentlemen have a response, or if not, if you can just give us a summary to end today's panel? Representative Weeks, you want to start, please?
I will thank you again for the very timely comments, very eye-opening comments that have been made by you today, not from us to you, but from you to us. And I'm asking you to continue to provide those kinds of things in a more formal way, of course, to the Legislative Black Caucus, so that we can put together an agenda that would be dealing directly with real problems and real situations in the processes that can make our small businesses more effective. And of course, I always use the term getting your piece of the pie, because that's what it is. And you want to be able to be positioned and in place to do that. We want to be in position to help. And as I said, our leader has been very strong, very emphatic about this, and I think you'll see some things, but we can't do it without the input, the kinds of input like you've given us today, and I thank you very much for it.
Thank you, Representative Weeks. Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, so first I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, Dr. Thigpen. It's always a pleasure to be able to come and hear things that you don't necessarily think about, but I think you have to be intentional. We can hear the ideas, we can talk about it, but we have to be intentional when we hear these issues and these problems. Sure. Yeah. So I'm thankful to be here. I'm glad to be a part of the discussion, and I hope something can come from this, and we can actually take these questions and these ideas and create a path forward. So thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Frierson?
No, I'll just echo Michael's comments and Representative Weeks. Thank you all again for the opportunity to be here this morning. As the State Chamber looks to represent all businesses in South Carolina, from your small mom and pops, one employee, to your multinational corporations. I mean, it's important for folks to be at the table, to have these conversations, to learn, what are aspects of our business climate that we can improve for minority businesses, for small businesses in South Carolina. So I thank you for that opportunity. I hope that you will stay engaged with us and tell us what we're missing, and again, it goes back to that. We cover so many different issues on a given basis that sometimes things fall through the crack, and that's not a good excuse, but that's reality, and we want to make sure that we know what we're not advocating for properly. But I will say that you have great advocates at the State House and your elected officials, folks that really want to make their communities better. And they, again, if you have any issue, they will be more than happy to to talk through that. And I thank again the Black Caucus for the opportunity to be here, and again look forward to working together going forward.
Thank you. Will Freison with the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Michael Jackson with the South Carolina Port Authority, and Representative David Weeks with District 51, Sumter County. Please give them a round of applause as we wrap up this panel. Thank you, gentlemen. And we get ready for our next panel. We want to thank all of you for joining us today for the annual Minority Business Forecast from the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus. I want to remind each of you that after the conference, there's plenty of time for networking and further conversation. We want to thank all of our sponsors, including Dominion Energy, the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, also Enviro Ag Science, and of course, the folks here at the Brooklyn Banquet and Conference Center. If you have an event or an occasion that you would like to host or find the perfect venue, the Brooklyn Baptist Conference Center is an excellent venue. Mr. Charles Curitan was our sales representative, and he was gracious and accommodating, and also every time we met, he offered us lunch. So we met often. So we want to thank the folks here so much. Right now, we're getting ready for our next panel, Understanding the Needs, Challenges, and Resources for Entrepreneurs. Please welcome Representative Cambro Garvin. He represents District 77 here in Richland County. He's been serving the House since 2018 and remains an attorney and owner of Cambro Garvin Law Firm. He sits on the Legislative Oversight and Education and Public Works Committee. Bree Maxwell is principal and CEO of Indigo Consulting, a political consulting firm based in Columbia, South Carolina. She's a former employee of former Majority Whip Congressman James E. Clyburn, where she served as his district scheduler and executive assistant. Last but certainly not least, with his beautiful family in tow, Hamilton Grant currently serves as president of Grant Business Advisors, a financial and strategic advisory firm for nonprofits, small businesses, and middle market companies. He's responsible for many of the financing projects of the company and works with clients to understand their financial needs and develop financial solutions. Would you please give them a round of applause? Thank you so much. Once again, if you are joining us online or in the building, please post and share this important conversation out. As entrepreneurs and small business owners, I guess, Cambro, we know you're an attorney. I think we all know what an attorney does. So if we could go to Bree and Hamilton, if you can kind of give us a summary of what your firm does. Yes.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me today. Before I get started, I have to say that I have to put this disclaimer out here. I am here in my personal capacity, and I'm not here on behalf of my employer. So that's what I have to say before I start. Back to the question that Trey asked, the type of business that I have worked with in the past, because of my current employer, I'm not able to do my business, is I've done political and business consulting as well as training. And with the political consulting, I have done digital ads, TV ads, and TV buys for candidates, as well as helping candidates start their campaigns, as well as helping candidates create campaign plans, campaign strategies, and also training candidates. So I've had people who have, invited me out to places to come and do trainings to women groups, and to young professionals. So that has been the business that I have been working with.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hamilton Grant. I have the honor of serving as president of Grant Business Advisors. Grant Business Advisors is a strategic financial consulting firm where we work with small businesses, commercial clients, nonprofits, a lot of religious organizations, and helping them attain financing for new construction projects, refinancing some existing debt, helping them put together strategic alliances with partners, and often working out some problem loans or financial issues that they may have. Our company, which is ran by my father, Tony Grant, was established in 2001, and since then we've been successful in acquiring over $1 billion in financing for clients across the country.
Thank you. Cambrell, he wanted to talk about.
Thank you, Trey. I told Trey I couldn't miss the opportunity to briefly share. Again, my name is Cambrell Garvin, and I am a new business owner. I started my law practice, the Cambrell Garvin Law Firm, about 8 months ago. Prior to starting my own practice, Rep Weeks, I was employed by a large law firm here in Columbia. We had 6 offices. They had 6 offices statewide, and so for me, leaving a large practice and going out on my own was certainly a little scary. But I think as a small business owner, it was a great opportunity, and we practice in the areas of personal injury primarily, as well as some local government law as well. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about some of the challenges and needs that entrepreneurs like you and many of us in the room today face in 2023. Bree, do you want to start? Yes, challenges that and obstacles and needs that entrepreneurs face and need in 2023.
So some of the challenge that I have witnessed and that I have experienced in the past is funding. Not just from being able to get grants and loans, but also making sure that your clientele is also able to pay, because the economy of today is not the same economy of yesterday. So, you know, people's pocketbooks are actually suffering today. So whether they can be able to afford your services, whether you're able to get those grants and loans. My husband is also, he's a full-time entrepreneur. He runs a photography business and he does real estate. So watching some of his clients not be able to afford some of the, you know, photography packages that he had because of the economy, because of, you know, lack of employment. So those has been some of the challenges that I have witnessed people deal with. Also your niche, making sure that your niche still can deal with the way that the world is today. A business that you may have started 10 years ago may not be needed today. So it's just a matter of making sure that you are keeping up with the times and that your business is able to keep up with the times.
Hamilton?
Sure. One of the things that we've seen is making sure that companies are what we call bank ready. So for businesses that are looking to acquire financing through traditional lending institutions, looking for lines of credit, making sure those businesses and small businesses have what they need in order to be qualified or considered for a loan for a bank. So making sure that you've got your profit and loss statements in check, your balance sheets in check, your personal financial statements in check, making sure your credit score is where it needs to be. Those have been some of the hurdles that we've seen. And also, to go back to the previous panel on something that was said, making sure that small businesses have access to minority contracts and contracts with agencies. And so oftentimes we've worked with companies that could get the contract, but they would not be able to fulfill the duty on their own, and they would have to partner because they don't necessarily have everything that they need to stand on their own. So those have been some of the hurdles and some of the challenges that we've seen. And quite frankly, it was happening before the pandemic, and I think the pandemic put a spotlight on it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to come back to you in just a minute and ask about those financial challenges and how our small businesses can overcome those hurdles. But Representative Garvin?
Absolutely. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint at heart. I think any entrepreneur around the room would certainly tell you that. Going from having, I heard a well, going from having a salary and benefits to going to literally being out there on your own. So I think that Bree and Hamilton have done a really good job talking about it, but I think the biggest thing is having a plan before you go. And so I think having that plan, having your credit in line, having that financial capital in line, I know we're going to talk about that in a second, but having a plan and implementing that plan will lead you to success. In my line of work, about 90% of my income comes in through a contingency fee. So that means that until a case resolves, or until we try a case, or until it settles, we don't get paid. I have a full-time staff person. My full-time staff person is not going to want to hear that a case hasn't settled and they can't get paid today. So they're looking at me to make sure that is paid, that the bills are paid, and that the lights are still on. So I simply want to say to all of the entrepreneurs, keep going. If you've made it thus far, then you can make it. So I think the first year is the hardest year of being an entrepreneur. But once you get past that first year, I think it maybe gets a little bit better. I hope it gets a little bit better.
Thank you so much. Bree, I want to ask you, you talked about some of the challenges you and your husband face as entrepreneurs. Is there anything specifically that you or he have encountered and you can share with us how you kind of made it over the hump, so to speak?
Yes, great question. So last year I ran a race in Maryland, comptroller race. So this candidate was able to spend his own capital for this campaign, which is kind of a big deal. He didn't have to fundraise and he didn't fundraise. So his digital budget was around $200,000. He gave me $200,000 to do his digital budget. So because of that, I was able to run different digital ads for him every week. So every week we would spend so much money doing digital ads for him. That's not the money that's coming in my pocket, but that's the money that's coming into the business to make sure that I can give you the great product for you. Now, on the flip side, I had another candidate who was running a statewide race. Her digital budget was only $10,000. I can't really do too much with $10,000, but I can see what I could do for you. So that just means that I'm not able to give you as much digital power play as you probably need to win this race, but I will make sure that you have the visibility. So sometimes it's just a matter of working with people, making sure that you can give them the notoriety that they need. So the candidate in Maryland, of course, he won his race. The candidate, the $10,000 budget candidate, she didn't win her race, but she was able to get her face out there and her name out there. So that's just one example that I dealt with last year in the 2022 election.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to piggyback on what you said. Getting her face and name out there will set her up to run again, right? And so you still won, and she still won also. Yeah. So Hamilton, do you want to talk about that, something and specifically that you faced and overcame as far as a challenge in your business?
Yeah, so in our line of work, we deal with a lot of churches and a lot of pastors. So for instance, and for example purposes, if a church is looking to build, whether it's a new sanctuary, family life center, we come in and help them assess their finances and tell them on the front end what they can afford before they put their deal in the marketplace. And then we put the deal in the marketplace and go get the financing for them. Now, for our religious people who are in the room, it's very hard as a business person to tell you after God has given you this vision of what it is that you're supposed to do. You've got this grand sanctuary that's gonna cost $10 million. And here I am as a 34-year-old got to tell you, you can only service $1.25 million right now.
Blaspheming.
Right. And so we have to do a lot of level setting on the front end, which hurts, but it's the building process. It's growing pains. If you ever work out or ever go to the gym, once you get into the gym and start working out and lifting weights, your body is sore. It's because your muscles have to stretch before they get stronger. And that's the same thing that we have to do when it comes to financing and talking and educating and consulting our clients. And so that's never easy, but the reward is so great once we get through the groundbreaking and cut the ribbon and walk into the new facility, whether it's a church, whether it's a car auto detailing shop, whatever business it is. But those growing pains are tough conversations to have on the front end, but they're so necessary.
Yeah, thank you so much. Representative Garvin, as an elected official in the South Carolina General Assembly, are there any efforts or legislation being discussed right now to assist small businesses in South Carolina?
Absolutely, all the time. So as many of you all probably heard recently, the General Assembly invested over $1 billion into the new Scout Motors that will be coming out here in Richland County, out into Blythewood areas. During our debate on the House floor, many of our members asked the question, well, what are we doing for small business owners? And there have been bills that have been introduced. There have been different bills and things done over the years to support small business owners. I think a part for us, I think knowing about those resources, knowing how to access those resources is going to be really important, especially when money is on the table. I think South Carolina is considered to be a business-friendly state, and small businesses continue to be the backbone of our business industry. And without small businesses, the larger companies can't thrive. I think now is a really great time for small business owners to really go out there and to really shake things up and to make a mark simply because of the economic growth that we're experiencing. South Carolina is a growing state. South Carolina our economy is doing well. So with all of those factors, I think now is a good time for folks to consider going into business on their own. And again, we're a state that's friendly to business, so let's take advantage of those opportunities.
I want to piggyback on what you mentioned about Scout Motors, and Representative Weeks also talked about it, and I'm sure everyone's talking about it now because it is a big deal, especially for contractors, small and minority business owners. How do South Carolina small businesses and entrepreneurs need to position themselves to be able to get a piece of the pie?
Absolutely. So, great question, Trey. I think what we have to do is we have to be at the table when these big decisions are being made, when these contracts are being issued. The Department of Commerce, Rep. Weeks, I think is going to be our friend in this matter. That's who we're going to need to work through to make sure that we have African-American lobbyists, to make sure that we have African-American contractors involved or minority contractors involved in getting cement laid or in business strategy and development. And I think as legislators, part of our job is ensuring that that happens. And we've had, and kudos to our chairman, Chairman Thigpen, he called a meeting with Senator Scott and Rep. Weeks and myself and a couple of others with the Department of Commerce to have that conversation, to make sure that we have a voice in this process. And I think you will continue to hear more information about it as it comes.
Great, thank you. Hamilton, I want to come to you because you're the money man. So let's talk about, as small businesses and entrepreneurs, how important are grants and loans?
Extremely important. Let's talk about the grants part first. If you are a small business or a what we call startup company, grants are going to be extremely important for helping you get that startup funding because banks are not going to lend to startup companies. Startups are anywhere between the ages of 1 and 3. And so after 3 years, which banks have a kind of total look at where you are so far in financial statements to see if they want to take a risk on you, because it is a risk lending, which is why the interest rates are so high. So grants are going to be your friend, but also loans are your friend too if you know how to make debt work for you. A lot of people say debt is a bad thing, and it could be if you can't manage it, but understanding how to manage debt to make it work for your benefit, because I'm always of the opinion I'd rather spend somebody else's money than my own money. But in that case, you also need to have some kind of funds to have skin in the game, because banks are not going to lend you 100%. They'll lend you 80% and want you to find the other 20, whether it is in a down payment, whether it is in collateral or what have you. And so that is extremely important, but understanding how, again, to be bank ready. So for startups, whether you're young, whether you've been in position, making sure that your financial statements are up to date, because the time to make sure that those things are up to date and credible is not the time where I need to go talk to my banker to get a loan real quick. It's not the time to say, all right, I need a line of credit because accounts receivables are due, so I need to talk to somebody, because as soon as they ask you those questions and you don't have what they need, it's going to put you in a further predicament. And so talking to somebody, talking to a professional, putting together a team, because I believe in teams, so having accountants, CPAs, or even working with your local municipality. Shout out to the partners who are here with Richland County, Office of Business Opportunity with the City of Columbia. We've worked hand in hand with them several times with making sure that small businesses are prepared in coaching and helping them acquire financing and things that they need to do to have access to capital. If your municipality, wherever you're from, may have that within their county, within the city, town limit, or even Chamber of Commerce, I would highly recommend that you work with them and partner with them so that you can be equipped to do what it is that you need to do.
Awesome, thank you. Bree, have loans and grants been advantageous for you in your business development?
So honestly, no, I haven't needed it. The only thing I need is my brains, my mouth, and my computer. But on the flip side, I can use my husband as an example, because in the photography business, you want to make sure that you have top-notch equipment. You want to make sure that you have the equipment that's going to make your pictures bring you your next client. For example, he recently had a fire at his studio, so he lost thousands upon thousands of dollars of equipment. But because he has great business credit, he was able to go and get some money to replace this equipment while also getting some new state-of-the-art equipment. I remember when he first decided he wanted to go into full-time entrepreneurship, and he told me the cost of these cameras, and I'm like, where's this money going to come from? You know, so, but at the time I realized that, you know, the grants and the loans and also having business credit was important. And because he took the initiative to do research on that, to get the proper education, to find the proper mentors to guide him along this way, he was able to put himself in a position to be successful. So now, if you need some pictures, shameless plug, Terrell Maxwell Photography.
Thank you, Bree. What about you, Cambrell? Were you able to, or did you need to use any outside funding?
Yes, yes. So let me say this. As a young lawyer, and again, leaving a larger firm, what was considered to be a rich firm or a firm that had done well, and then going out and starting on my own, and not coming from a whole lot of money, you know, there are grants and loans or things that we absolutely had to use in order to get started. From, again, a full-time employee to advertisement costs to leasing a space. I think those things are all things. I think Hamilton made a really good point that sometimes some people are afraid of debt or certain things along those lines, but sometimes in order to get where you want to go, you have to sometimes do certain things in order to get to the end goal. So I want to encourage all of the entrepreneurs or all the folks that are thinking about going out there on their own to not be afraid and to also, you know, you just can't decide one day that I need to go get a business loan and your personal credit is not where it needs to be. And so I think if you want to do those things, make sure that your personal credit is in line because as Hamilton said, banks will not consider you for any type of financing, any type of line of credit if those things aren't in place. And I also think it's okay to say that I think, as Bree said just now, I think having that business credit is also really important because you never know what your need will be down the line. And I think if you want to scale a business, which is what I'm doing, scaling a business slowly but surely, I think that you have to have those things in place. So the answer is yes, and I encourage others to do it as well if they need to pursue loans or grants in order to get their business started.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I want to make sure that we have enough time to take questions from the audience, so I'm going to stop asking questions for a moment to see if anyone in the audience does have a question. Dr. Lynn, if we could get the mic to Dr. Lynn, please.
Again, I'm going to play the old guy. Grant, I remember when your daddy used to push you around in a stroller. But again, I want to verify for the young business folks, what they're saying is absolutely correct. When I started my business 38 years ago, getting a relationship with bank was important. There were many months when there was too much money at the end of the money, and I formed a relationship with the bank and a personal relationship with the banking guy. I ended up serving on their state, local, and their national board. And by the way, get on boards too. Boards are great. They pay well, and you get to help other folks. But everything these guys are saying, getting loans. Now you may have to pledge your firstborn to get the loan, so you're committed. But everything they're saying, I'm the guy that's been there, done that. They're correct. Thank you.
And while Dr. Lynn is standing up, I want to make a point for everybody listening. Get you a good mentor. Get you a Dr. Lewis Lynn. Get you a Diane Sumter. Get somebody that has been there and that has done that has maybe fallen and gotten back up. I'm not saying that you have, but I'm saying get somebody who has some lived experiences, especially as young entrepreneurs, because they can direct you and guide you and help you prevent certain things.
And when you get a mentor, you get us as your mentor. I ain't on your payroll. I'm gonna give you a hand. I'm not your help. I'm your hand.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. Are there any other questions from the audience? We have a question over here. Oh, was there one over here? No? Okay. Once again, thank you so much. While she is taking the mic to Stephen, thank you so much for joining us for the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus Annual Minority Business Forecast.
Hey, good morning, y'all. So thank you for really underlining the importance of not only personal credit, but business credit. But for a lot of young entrepreneurs, I'm a financial therapist by trade, and what I've learned is that a lot of people who are healing their relationship with money, they're having to go through that first personal hurdle. But as you all are entrepreneurs and help entrepreneurs up there, can you all give people who are listening, whether they're in the room or virtually, some of the resources that they need to obtain when it comes to building their business credit? Because I think it's easy for us to say like, hey, you should have it. But it's also challenging for people to know what to do. So if you could give some guidance, that would be helpful for the
Yeah,
entrepreneurs.
that's awesome. Thank you, Stephen. And I was going to mention that to, to let people know there is a difference between your personal credit and your business credit. Hamilton, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, and thank you for that question. One of the things that I would say is, as Cambrell has said earlier, make sure that you have a plan. And so for a lot of the entrepreneurs that are jumping out, and that may go through some of these personal financial growing pains that you indicated, is how do I have an exit strategy that phases from leaving where I am and transitioning into being an entrepreneur? That conversation first helps start, okay, what is it that I need to do personally before I jump out into being a full-time entrepreneur or even a part-time entrepreneur? That gives you a little bit of time to address some of your personal credit or personal financial issues. But if you jump out into entrepreneurship and you still have some of those, that's okay. There was a reason why I mentioned some of the partners such as Richland County and City of Columbia's Office of Business Opportunity, because there are resources around us that we may not know about that can help walk you through that process. A lot of times we talk about one of the biggest hurdles being access to capital, which it is. I don't want to get it twisted, but I think another hurdle is the convenience of access to capital, because I think the access is there. How many people know what it is that those individual organizations or municipalities and what they do? And so I would, again, venture to reach out to some of these people to see what it is that they can do to help. Shameless plug, if there's anything that our company, Grant Business Advisors, can do to help, I'm sticking around till this thing is over so I can talk to as many of you all as possible to see how we can make your business flourish.
Awesome. Bree, do you want to, or Cambrell, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, it goes back to something that we've all already mentioned. It was make sure you have a mentor, someone who can help you. My husband's mentor was his old professor from Claflin. So one thing that I realized that Claflin does a great job, well, Claflin Mass Common Department did a great job, was making sure that the students who come through that program are well set for whatever they want to do. So when he decided he wanted to go into full-time entrepreneurship, his professor let him borrow his cameras until he was able to get the cameras that he wanted. And he also gave him advice on how to start getting business credit and how to start working on your personal credit. Now, that's the best thing you'll ever hear me say about Claflin. I'm not going to say nothing else good about Claflin. But besides that, just making sure you have a mentor, and it's the same thing that we've already said, Cambrell and Hamilton, just having that mentor, getting that business credit, and also your integrity, because you also have to remember that as a person going into business, you want to have great integrity, because that follows you, your reputation, it follows you, so that people will want to even be able to do business with you.
Thank you, and Cambrell. You're good? All right, I think we have a question here, and then we'll get with you next, ma'am. Thank you.
So maybe more of a comment in relationship to what was already said. So I want to thank all of the panelists for the comments that they've shared. Comment was made earlier around understanding resources and understanding where certain resources fit in the process. My name is Alan Brown, and I am the lead consultant for the Small Business Development Center here in the Midlands Marketplace. And Hamilton talked about convenience, right? A lot of times people don't know the resources that are available. Well, the SBDC is a resource that is convenient, right? And oftentimes I go in and communicate with individuals in the room is that we are a free service to the community that's funded by the United States Congress through the Small Business Administration and through our partners at the Department of Commerce that help us to make sure that the resources you need to get started are available to you. And the state legislature. Thank you, Michelle. Michelle Abraham is our state director, and she's here to make sure, I don't say anything that don't supposed to be said, right? and the things that I miss is communicated. Hamilton mentioned grants, right? And I made a post on LinkedIn the other day where I said if I get 5 calls out of the week for a small business owner looking to find funding, 3 of them are about, Alan, do you have access to grants? You know where I could get grants from. There are very few grants that are available for people trying to start their new business. That's not a resource that is typically Now, the post I made was a post that I said, I get to tell you that there is, right? Because Shopify has a grant that's specifically focused on women businesses, women in business, right? That's rare. That is rare that I get to share that information. So there are resources to help better clarify that. But also in relationship to that, we can help you get access to capital. And we oftentimes work with organizations like Grant Business Strategies, Grant Business Advisors to do that. Some of you may have gotten, a success story that we had out on the table, A.A. Dick's, funeral home. Grant Business Strategies did the heavy lifting to help that entrepreneur get his building. We partnered together to help him move that way. And that's what we do in the Midlands community. That's what we do all across the state with various components of the South Carolina Small Business Development Center. So less of a question, more of a comment. Just wanted to clarify everything.
Thank you, Alan. He and Michelle are going to be in our next panel giving us some more great information. Thank you so much. Ma'am, you had a comment? Yes. Or a question?
Maybe both. Good evening. I'm Yvonne McBride. I'm on County Council in Richland County. And my comment is that during COVID and after COVID, we've had a lot of money flowing through the municipalities, as Mr. Grant stated, Richland County, the City of Columbia. And we've had funds designated for small businesses. But I feel that it's not reaching the people that it needs to reach. Therefore, we get the same few companies applying over and over. And I think part of that problem is our problem, because we need to look at new strategies to get that information out. So my question is, how can we as governmental entities help increase the way that we get the information out to the general public? And we do the newspaper, you do the ads, and everything is done through technology. But for some reason, we are missing the people that we need to help.
Well, first, Councilwoman McBride, thank you so much for your advocacy and for your service. I think just to take a stab at that is to go where these small businesses are. Oftentimes we encounter companies that, like you said, are not aware that Richland County is there to help, or Office of Business Opportunity, or what Mr. Allen Brown does. They're just not aware, but we encounter them where they are. Mm-hmm. And so I think having a robust approach, whether it's through the county or whether it's through individual council people or wherever you see yourself serving, actually going and visiting these communities, going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, because a lot of small businesses are attending these smaller chamber events, neighborhood associations, churches. My God, churches is a great place to start, because there's so many business owners that attend church or attend your religious organizations. I think just going to common places where they are, as well as advertising, social media. Bree can tell you a whole lot more about that through digital marketing and targeted marketing. But I think just finding people where they are. In advertising and saying, these are some of the things that the county has, this is what we have to offer to help your small business succeed. Because when small businesses succeed, the county succeeds, your tax base grows. There's a lot more opportunity to do some of these projects that municipalities want to do but can't necessarily do. And so I think that would be my stab at answering that question.
And thank you, Hamilton. Thank you so much, Councilwoman McBride.
Okay, one more statement, then I'm finished. I think that as small business, as entrepreneurs, you need, and I'm on county council, and there are other elected officials, but the municipalities, we should be able to control what's going on with our counties, especially Richland County. So you need to hold us accountable. You need to come to council meetings and hold every council member accountable for putting more funding out there to help you. And I'm included, but one or two people can't do it by themselves. But if you come and hold every member on that council accountable for what they're doing, then we can get more done. And that's not only just for small businesses. I'm out here advocating now to make citizens, to help citizens hold public officials accountable for what they're doing. And that includes me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I apologize. I didn't recognize you over there looking so fabulous, lady. I didn't even recognize you, Councilwoman McBride. I know you don't have a question. Okay, we have a question over here. If you can get the mic over here. Campbell, do you want to respond to anything that Councilwoman McBride said as far as how to find the small and minority businesses to get the funding to?
I think that the Councilwoman and Hamilton have done a really good job of answering that question. I think, as Hamilton said, and I know I'm filling in for time, I know, as he said, going where people are is going to be key. And I think for all of those that need grant funding or are looking for money, the Councilwoman is here. And so go find her and go get in line. She has That's right.
Yeah, absolutely, because this is a great opportunity for networking, so for getting to know people, for having those conversations. You have no reason today to say, I didn't know, I don't have access, because you are getting the information right now. If you're in the room, you're getting the information. If you're online, you're hearing the information. So you can then reach out to those folks who are saying, this is what's available, you can come and get it. Ma'am, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to be here. So I'm Tammy Green. I'm with the South Carolina Department of Commerce. In my role, I'm the Supplier Outreach Manager. We will be on the panel later, but we'll have a limited amount of time to speak. And so I'm hearing a lot of things today, and I want everyone to know that as a small business owner, you guys don't know what you don't know, right? So we have all these resources in the room, all of our partners, the SBDC, Richland County, City of Columbia, Commission on Minority Affairs, APEX are all here, and the Department of Commerce. And so what happens is that as a small business owner, you may know about the SBDC, right? But you don't know about APEX. And so our team, we are going to, and we'll talk a little bit about it later, but we're rolling out kind of an info session where we're going to bring all these partners to the table in one room as a resource to you all, so that you will know and have access to the information in one location. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just want you guys to be aware that we talk about Team South Carolina. We're very much Team South Carolina, and all these partners in the room, and there's some other ones that are not in the room, SC DBE are partners of ours as well, but we want you to know that we are working on a plan to ensure that not only are you Scout ready, but there's other large investments in the state that we want to make sure that you are able to take advantage of.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as Ms. Green said, she and her team will be speaking during our lunch. Any more questions? We've got about 10 more minutes. I'm going to go back to we've got a question way back over here from the Office of Business Opportunities. And thank you, Hamilton, for mentioning that, because I was going to mention that too, that there are folks in the room from the Office of Business Opportunities and also Richland County, which does have several resources for small and minority businesses.
Hey, I'm Aisha Driggers with the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. Thank you for the shout out, Hamilton and Allen and Tammy and everybody. So we do have resources that are available to our small businesses, but to the Councilwoman's point, it is our role to make sure we clear any barriers that may exist and making sure we go into those communities, but also making sure the community trusts us. So we have this funding available, but sometimes we run into an issue of trust, and can I really trust the government to look out for my best interests when it comes to my business? So it's important that we establish those relationships within our community to make sure that they know that we're here as a resource for them, and we really are interested in helping them grow and scale their business. So that's our role as government officials, to make sure that trust is there.
Thank you, Aisha. Appreciate it. All right, any more questions? All right, so a couple of more questions for the panel before we wrap up. How much of your own money should you invest in your business, Hamilton?
I would not say all of it. Going back to the statement again, I think if you can spend someone else's money, i.e. a bank, do that. However, I do believe you need some skin in the game. You need to put some of your money up. And you also need to invest in yourself. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna go blow my savings account to do this, but what that does mean is I'm gonna spend X amount of dollars budgeted to go to a professional developed conference to make sure I'm well-rounded, make the connections like the ones that are in the room. And so while I do believe you need to invest in yourself, because if you don't believe in you, why should you expect anyone else to believe in you or your business to succeed? I'm not a fan of you spending a whole savings account or going through your personal money to start something up. But that all goes back to planning as well. So making sure that you sit down with somebody to help you budget, help you get a plan to make your business succeed and make sure that it thrives and not only survives.
All right, great. All right, as we wrap up this panel, Cambrell, Bree.
I'll take that question.
Okay, all right. I was just going to ask you for any closing statements.
Well, this will be my closing statement. To answer that last question, and then I'll go into my closing. There's an old saying that says, "Scare money don't make no money," and that has kind of been my attitude. I think that as an entrepreneur, that we have to be willing to invest in our craft. We have to be willing to invest in ourselves, and lastly, we have to be willing, to bet on ourselves. When you started your business, you took a chance by leaving another business to go out and start your own because he recognized that he could do it himself. And I think when you realize that as an entrepreneur, that, you know what? Why am I sitting here making this company money when I have the ability to be able to go out there and do that myself? That's when the light bulb comes on. So to all of the entrepreneurs that are listening, I encourage you to believe in yourself, number one, because if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will ever believe in you either. And to also, as we said earlier, to have a plan, implement that plan, and go for it. When I decided to leave my previous law practice and go out on my own, before I put my 2 weeks notice in, my website was done, my office was leased out and ready to go, it was furnished, it was ready to go. So that's why when we talk about having a plan and implementing that plan, why it's really important. But I encourage each of you to go for it if you believe in it. There are resources around the room. Find out who can help you. And guess what? I believe that the best is yet to come for each and every one of you all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Cambrell. Bree?
So to piggyback on what both of these amazing gentlemen said, it is important to make sure that you're investing in yourself and in your business. Make sure that you're taking the trainings, make sure you're getting the certifications, because those things are important. And it goes back to what the lady said over here earlier. You don't know what you don't know. So it's always important to make sure that you are a sponge and you are gathering as much information as you can to learn, to make sure that you can grow, and to make sure that you are also helping the next person, because you never know who's watching you, who are inspired by the things that you're doing. And besides that, entrepreneurship is a great thing. It allows you to be able to spend more time with your family if you are doing it the right way. It allows you to be able to live the life that you possibly have always imagined and dreamed of living. But just make sure that you're doing research. Make sure that you have a plan for what you want to do. Make sure that there is a niche for what you want to do as well. Because the last thing you want to do is try to become an entrepreneur and you don't even get any business, or you just get a little bit of business. And make sure that your business is giving you longevity, so that when you are ready to retire and to quit, you can retire and quit and still be able to survive and take care of your family.
Thank you, Bree. And Hamilton?
Sure. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm honored to share the stage with so many of my friends and people that I look up to. Just as a word of encouragement for entrepreneurs and small business owners, it was shortly after Hurricane Katrina, our family traveled to New Orleans, Louisiana, to be with my cousin as she graduated. And one of the things we did, we took a tour of the church that she attended. It was a small AME church in one of the hardest hit parishes. And so we saw the ravaged damage. We saw where the water lines were. We saw what the wind did to the church. But one of the things that has always stuck out to me was the steeple on top of the church. It was bent, but it didn't break. And so that's the word I want to encourage all the entrepreneurs and small business owners. Weather the storm, whether it be COVID, whether it be your own personal credit, whether it be different instances where you go through, bend but don't break. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for Hamilton Grant, President of Grant Business Advisors, Bree Maxwell, CEO of Indigo Consulting, and Representative Cambrell Garvin, District 77, Richland County. Thank you, lady and gentlemen, so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. All right, thank you all for joining us for the 2023 Annual Minority Business Forecast here at Brooklyn Baptist Church in West Columbia, South Carolina. If you're joining us online, please post and share this important conversation. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Dominion Energy, South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, who we'll hear from later, Enviro Ag Science, who we've heard from Dr. Lynn several times today, and he is going to talk to us also. We also want to thank Brooklyn Baptist Church and the Brooklyn Banquet and Conference Center. In addition to the Conference Center, which I mentioned earlier, there is the Health and Wellness Center next door, also the Child Care Center, and they also have a credit union. We were talking about finances and financial opportunities and financing. We're going to bring up Marnie Robinson, who is Public Relations and Marketing Director of Brooklyn Baptist Church, to tell us a little bit about the credit union, after which we'll go to our third panel, South Carolina Small Business Development Center. Marnie?
Thank you, Trey. And thank you guys for coming here to do this event. This has been a great session that you were just sitting in. I think we were back there and we said that Reverend Hamilton put that last twist in there. He'll catch that. He's going to get me for that. I'm Marnie Robinson, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Brookland. And we always have to say all things Brookland because Brookland is here on this campus. We are around the corner at Brookland Lakeview Empowerment Center, and we're in the Northeast in the Summit, at Summit 1203 Summit Parkway. So my responsibility is to get the word out about everything Brookland. My team consists of me, myself, and I. And myself and I quit every other hour. So what I want to talk to you about today, Pastor Jackson always likes to make us aware of what our mission statement is. Our mission statement is to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ through evangelism, education, and economic empowerment. We walk in the economic empowerment arm of that every day that we talk about Brookland or we come here, you see people. The Banquet and Conference Center is that arm. We also employ 214 people. 214 people work for Brooklyn Baptist Church. Let that sit for a moment. That's our economic empowerment. That's what we give back to the community. The Brookland Banquet and Conference Center is part of our Community Resource Center. Community, come let us unite. This is a diverse place where you can come and do business and see people from all walks of life here. And they can enjoy lunch while they're here. Part of our other economic empowerment component is the Brookland Federal Credit Union. How many of you know of a Black-owned credit union? Anybody? Besides Brookland, yes. Okay, so we have that, and it's located across the street from this main campus. It's the Brookland Federal Credit Union. We chartered in the year of 1999. It took us, and this is important, that when you're building your business or something of that magnitude, that you understand that it took us 10 years before that, before we could open our doors. The research had to be done, and when you're talking about other people's money and you're handling other people's money, you have to really do the research and know. You've got to know all the rules, FDIC rules, regulations, all of that. We actually went to New York. If some of you may the senator, he was a senator in the U.S. Senate, and they have a place in New York. It was his name escapes me, but I know we went there. No, not Elijah. It's he's in New York. They have a whole block of businesses. Where his church is located, they have a whole block, and you go around the corner, they own apartment complexes and all of that stuff. We went up there for 2 weeks. Rosalind Glenn was our first manager of the Brookland Federal Credit Union. She spent quality time. Her background was finance, and she spent quality time doing the research. So part of that research entailed getting our charter ready. Our charter right now is for members of Brookland and their relatives. We are looking in the near future to expand our field of membership. That's our goal this year, to expand our field of membership. And when you do that, we open up our membership to the community, the Midlands, not just West Columbia, but to the surrounding communities. And you too can become a member of the credit union. It takes $25. If you have a relative that goes to Brookland and you want to join our credit union, you can do that. You can do that today, $25. And then you get the services that they offer. They do loans, they do car loans, they do personal loans, they do secured loans. And our president of the bank right now is Ronald Cooley. Not necessarily, he's not a member of Brookland, but he's qualified. He is a member of church. He's a member of First Nazareth. But we say that to let you know that we're here, and this is our opportunity to empower us. It's our opportunity to empower us. Pastor Jackson asked me to please let you know that he thanks you for coming here today. He thanks you for the work that you're doing in the community and all of your future endeavors. We also just opened our CLC, the Christian Learning Center. That too is a part of our 214 employees. You always have to remember that. Economic empowerment. We hire people that look like us, and we let them work here. They get paid, and we, it's just like going to a regular job. We do church on Sunday. Amen. Thank you again for coming here. If you are interested, and I have to do this because he told me I had to do this, Charles Curitan. Charles, raise your hand. He's a Reverend Charles Curitan, and I call him DC, okay? You too can call him DC. Reverend Charles Curitan is the sales executive that we just brought on here at the Banquet and Conference Center. He's responsible for, you're his client. He's a sales executive. This is what we do here. We do exactly like you would get at the Convention Center, the Colonial Center, Holiday Inn, all of those things we do here. The food's really good too. That's what they tell me. The food is great. That's a good clap. But DC can help you if you are interested in having your events. We do small events. We do birthday parties. We do weddings. We do all of those things over in meetings, business meetings. All of that over here. So when you take a break, if you want to talk to him, he's available over there. And I'll make sure that I have some of my cards on your tables so that you can walk away. And if you need to contact me, you too can contact me as well. Thank you guys again for choosing Brookland.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marnie, so much. We appreciate it. Please put your hands together once again for the Brooklyn Baptist Church, the Banquet and Conference Center, the Early Learning Center, the Health and Wellness Center, and of course, the credit union. The credit union is so important in your journey to being a small business or entrepreneur. All right, panel 3, South Carolina Small Business Development Center. Please put your hands together for our panelists. Senator Vernon Stevens represents District 39, including Orangeburg, Calhoun, Dorchester, Colleton, and Berkeley County. Serving since 2021, Senator Stevens serves on the committees of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Corrections and Penology, Veteran Services, Fish, Game, Forestry, and Judiciary. Senator Vernon Stevens. Michelle Abraham has served as the State Director for the South Carolina Small Business Development Center, SC DBE, since 2010, where she manages a statewide network of expert advisors and professional staff who provide business consulting and training to South Carolina's entrepreneurs and small businesses. She was also chair for 2 years of the National Board of Directors for America's SBDC network. One of those professionals and expert advisors is Mr. Alan Brown. We heard from him earlier. He is a Small Business Development Center lead consultant for the metropolitan area of Columbia. His goal is to provide families and business owners with assistance in building their financial freedom. Please put your hands together for our panelists. Want to let you know, too, while this panel is going on, you will be getting served your lunch from the amazing folks at the Banquet and Conference Center, so please chew quietly. All right, so what type of business, and I'll let you, Michelle, you or Alan answer this. What type of business and when should a small business come to you to utilize your services?
Well, one of the things that a lot of people don't know about the Small Business Development Centers is that our consulting services are free of charge. So you never have a reason not to come to us. We like to work with you throughout the life cycle of your business. So if you're just starting out, you can come to us and we'll continue to work with you whenever you need us, as you grow, as you build, and as you mature, and to the point of where you're looking at succession planning and exiting the business. So we're there with you for the life cycle of your business, and you can consider us an extension of your business. You think about a big corporation and all of the different departments that they have, that's what the SBDC is to you. So we can help you with financial records, bookkeeping, accounting. We can help you with marketing and sales growth strategies. The last panel talked a lot about business planning. We do a lot with you to help you with creating a business plan and doing long-term strategic planning. And we have specialists that help you if we talked a lot today about contracting. If you want to do contracting with the government or with large prime contractors, we've been providing those services in South Carolina for over 35 years. We have people that have been in that business for a very long time, and we will help you figure out if it makes sense for you and how to prepare for that. So no matter what it is, we've got somebody in our team of 50 people that will help you. We serve all 46 counties, and we have about 20 primary locations, but we also have a lot of partners around the state who give us space to come in and meet with you in your local community if we're not right there.
Awesome. Alan, can you chime in to talk about some of the specific services that you offer for free, as Michelle said?
Yeah. Thank you, Trey, and thank you, South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, for having this event and giving us an opportunity to share the work that we do in the community. Our motto is "Ask us, we can help." You know, and so I will follow up with what Michelle said about, you know, if you have a question about anything related to business, anything related to entrepreneurship, you know, give us a call. Some of that follow-up might not lead into what we call, consider a client relationship, where we help you move forward in a significant way. But it may be just that you get your answer, your question answered in that moment when you need it answered so that you can go forward. And so a lot of times, you know, I get calls, and that's just what it is that we're doing in that regard in relationship to starting your business, right? So, you know, so one of the things that we're probably most noted for in the community is helping people start businesses. We do that exceptionally well, if I may add. One of the success stories that you have gotten today when you came in today was of Oasis Pharmacy. You know, Stephanie Wise is a licensed pharmacist who just hit her 5-month mark. And we were able to help her get financing. We were able to help her think through, you know, what does she look for in a lease? You know, what vendors does she think about as it relates to the compliance components that she has? You know, many of you may not be aware of what a long-term care pharmacy is. That's not, I wasn't when she first came to me, but through the resources that we have at the Small Business Development Center, which are research-based, like IBIS World and Vertical IQ, that are tools that we get to utilize to help you better understand how your industry operates. You know, one of the things that we see, and I would be remiss if I don't say we and include my colleague John Gathers, who's the regional director for the South Carolina State region, sitting over here. You know, what a lot of times that we see is people just not familiar about how their industry operates, the constraints that their industry has, and so they start businesses not being aware of the things that they got to deal with, you know, like the insurance component on the trucking side. You know, we get a significant amount of people wanting to go into the transportation business, you know, because their cousin John or somebody else said, yeah, I'm doing great, right? But we don't want you just to start a business, right? And we all have heard the statistic that 50% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. Well, our goal is not for you to get the license, that says I'm in business, or to go to Secretary of State and get your LLC and say I started my business on this particular date. Our goal is to help you get to sustainability, right? And sustainability, is when you can take a market rate salary, entrepreneurs, right, for the work that you're doing in your business, and you're not distorting your financials by not taking a salary so that you look profitable, and then thinking you're really making money, right? That's not what we want you to do. We want you to take a market rate salary when the business can pay you that, but also have a strategy to do it, right? A lot of things that we've been talking about today is around intentionality, right? And so if I would sum up, what it is that we do at the SBDC, I would say we help entrepreneurs be intentional about starting their businesses for the reasons that they started their businesses, helping them to find why they're really going into businesses, and then helping them developing a plan or strategy on how they're going to get there and be around to create generational wealth.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying, Alan, people really need to come to you and Michelle before they decide what business to start, but just if they decide they want to be an entrepreneur. Because from what you just said, they may want to go into a field kind of blindly, not really knowing what all the particulars are that they may or may not be able to handle.
Absolutely, Trey. It's been found, and statistics prove that most successful entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs who leverage experience that they have already gotten in other markets. Actually all three of the success stories that we've shared with you today are success stories of individuals who leveraged their experience in previous work environments and then took that experience and moved into an entrepreneurial space. One of them really didn't want to do it. It was an opportunity that came to her. The other one intentionally did it, like the lawyer that was mentioned, that was up here before in the previous panel. He planned on starting his business before he retired from the Air Force, and he put things in place. And the other gentleman, A.A. Dix, who's one of the success stories that we share, he's always wanted to be in the funeral business since he was young. So.
And if I could just add real quickly to that,
Sure,
we're known a lot for helping people get started in a business, but the other thing that we do a lot of is stepping in and helping people that are already in business to figure out, how do I grow, how do I diversify, how do I sustain my business long term? And all of our consultants have owned small businesses or are still small business owners, so they've walked the walk, and we put them through intensive training year over year over year to make sure that they're on the leading edge of things. So, for example, Senator Stevens brought us 4 constituents in his district who were all in business but could use the benefit of the services that we offer, and we're working with all of those folks now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good. Senator Stevens, I'm getting ready to come to you right now. From a manufacturing standpoint, how can and has the South Carolina Small Business Development Center assisted you and your constituents, as Michelle just mentioned?
Thank you, Bree, and thank you, South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, for hosting this event. I had the distinct privilege of working as a manufacturing manager and a short time as a plant manager in a manufacturing facility providing original equipment to Ford, to Chrysler, to Dodge, also to GM. And in that facility, in that era, that area of manufacturing, we looked at many components that goes into actually making a brake pad. You talk and you hear about large companies locating within a community, within a city, out in the rural areas of South Carolina. from those facilities come smaller facilities. And that's where I come in. That's where the Small Business Development Center comes in. In that brake manufacturing facility that I manage, we had someone to actually paint the brake pads. We had someone or a company to blank out the steel that's needed. We had a company to make the pallets. We had a company to provide us the boxes. So you had a number of component parts that was needed to finish the product of a brake pad. And it becomes an issue when we have 10% set aside for small businesses and we can't get them. And we can't get them because they have not been a business plan developed by those individuals. And then it becomes, if they develop that plan, or they are developing the plan along with SB DC, they get to the point of my finances. My finances have to go in that application. And believe you me, that is where the ball drops. And it stops. Because we have that tendency not to want to disclose our finances. And when you do that, in a sense, it's all over with. And my gesture was to, yes, you ought to go out into the community, or the community is to come to you. But I believe this, you go out into the community, you being the Small Business Development Center. I'm going to serve as that bridge between the community, those small businesses, and your agency. Because your services are free. I repeat, your services are free. Hold up your head from eating and look at me. These folks' services are free. They are being paid by the federal government and the state of South Carolina. Take advantage of it. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Can I follow?
Go ahead, Alan.
So Senator Stevenson said, our services are free.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. That's what he said. Well, we like to put a different spin on it. We like to say they're at no cost to you.
Yeah.
All right, they're at no cost to you. And we put that spin on it, right, because there is work that's going to be involved to get what you need done, to get your project completed. There's work going to have to be done by you. There's work that's going to have to be done by me. And there's work that's going to have to be done by all of the resource partners that are in this room today. And there's work that's already been done in order to be able to provide the services that we provide at the SBDC, at Richland County, at DLC, at the City of Columbia, at Grant Business Strategies. I mean, I could go on and on and on about the resource partners that are here that I work with. And so a part of the services that we also provide, is we serve as information brokers. Like I know about the great program, the revolving loan fund that the City of Columbia has for startups. Submitted a packet to Brett 2 days ago that I'm hoping to make to committee. I know about Richland County coming up with a grant. Look, if y'all really need to put your forks down for this. In the next 2 months, be on the lookout for a grant from Richland County. It's too early. I can't tell you all of the details of it, but I will say, in the military, we call it a warning order. When we tell you, hey, we about to do something, this is that warning order. Richland County is about to do something, so you need to pay attention to Richland County. In the next 2 months, we'll give you the operations order. We'll tell you what to do and how to take advantage of it. So I just wanted to follow up with that.
All right, thank you. So if someone is interested in working with SBDC, what do they need to have when they come to you? And then what is the process? Michelle?
Well, I'll start with the process, and then I'll let Alan jump in there. If you go to our website, which is www.scsbdc, don't try to say that 3 times fast, .com, right on the landing page at the top right is a blue button that says sign up here if you want to receive counseling. And you just click on that. It takes you less than 5 minutes to fill out the information, and that will get you in the queue for an appointment with one of our consultants. And I want to emphasize for all of you that everything that we do, we treat as completely confidential. We do not share anything about our interaction with you, your business, your financials, anything like that. We are actually bound by federal law to do that, but because we've all owned our small businesses ourselves, we know how important that is. So it's very easy. Sign up on the website, or if you see one of us at an event or something like this, you're welcome to approach us, and we'll help make that happen. So what do they need, Alan?
They need to have an open mind, be coachable, and willing to do the work. And an open mind from the perspective of, it's already been said, that you don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of times entrepreneurs will come in wanting to tell me, Alan, I got this great idea for a product or services that I want to offer. And I'm like, who are you going to offer to? I got a great idea for a service or product that I want to offer. Who are you going to offer to? Alan, didn't you hear me say I got a great idea for a product or service that I want to offer? And I'm like, yeah, I heard you. But you got to offer it to somebody. Somebody got to purchase it from you, right? So tell me about the people or the person or the business that you want to sell your services to. And so a lot of times the initial conversations is around, let's take a step back and let's see what the real opportunity is, right? Because what we try to tell small business owners that an opportunity is not just a solution. It's an opportunity is when a problem meets a solution, or when a solution meets a problem, that's when you have a real opportunity. And so, that's part of the initial process. And having an open mind, being coachable and willing to do the work, allows us the opportunity and the space to help them move through that process. And then, on the back end, where our services are at no cost, we don't do the work. Let me say that again, right? So I'm not Grant Hamilton, Hamilton Grant, where you come in and you pay me your services, and I put your whole business plan together. I call all the banks on your behalf, right? That's not the detail of the work that we do, right? We're more of a mentor, a coach, and we help you work through and think through the decisions, and then we say, all right, go do that, right? And then come back when you got it done, and we'll look over and make sure it's right. One, because it's your business, you're doing it, it's your skin in the game, so you got to be able to defend anything you do in the marketplace, because the marketplace is brutal. It will eat you up and spit you out if you haven't learned enough about your business to be able to pivot and make decisions in a real-time way when things happen.
Thank you, Alan. Michelle, if I can we can stop just for a second. I just want to bring up Chair Thigpen. I promise you, he's going to do something that is going to make the rest of your afternoon, especially your lunch, go so much better. He's going to bless the food, y'all.
Well. Let us look to the Lord. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together in this way. We thank you for the entities and the individuals represented here. Bless now not only the food that has been prepared, but that has already been partaken of, but also, more importantly, be here with us now. It is in your precious name we pray and say amen.
Amen. Carry on chewing. All right, Michelle.
Y'all, make sure y'all save some for us, though.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say we're there to help you learn to sustain your own business and to be successful yourselves over the long haul, not to do it for you so that you don't know what was done before. We're trying to make you successful in your own right. And so, one of the things that we saw during COVID, normally in a year, we serve about 5,000 people in the state of South Carolina on average. During the height of COVID, we hit or assisted over 22,000 people with our staff of 50. And a lot of that was, well, not only did we work 24/7, but we had all of the government grants. It was one time when there were a lot of grants and loan programs and state loan or grant programs. And one of the things that we found that we've known, but we really saw in spades, is that so many people came even to try to apply for these grants, and they did not have their financial houses in order. As the senator said, they didn't have their business plans put together. They couldn't produce tax returns. They didn't know how much money they were making. And those kinds of things are absolutely essential if you want to try to get any kind of financing. So this is the kind of thing that we do. We walk step by step through this with you and help you so that you become self-sufficient in accomplishing that.
Thank you, Michelle. Senator Stevens, let me ask you, what is the General Assembly doing to ensure that our small and minority business owners thrive and have opportunities to expand?
The South Carolina General Assembly is basically doing something every year to look after and to make sure that we do legislation, whether or not it's through by tax credits, whether through by deduction in taxes. We are putting in place procedures through by which SB DC must follow, as well as other state agencies, in making sure that we help small businesses. If you look at the percentage of businesses in this state, I think it's about 60 to 70% of the businesses in this state are small businesses. So you play a big role in the economics of the state of South Carolina. And whenever we can, as a General Assembly, help you in bridging that gap, or help the citizens in bridging that gap from a tax perspective, from even dealing with DHEC in curtailing some of those provisions or those regulations that put you out there in left field sometimes by yourself. We're looking at now revamping the different departments that falls up under state government to make the process easier for you. We would take that seriously. We have been taking it seriously. We're not only about big companies, big corporations, but small businesses as well.
Thank you. Before we wrap up this panel, we certainly want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions. Do you have any questions from the audience? All right, we've got one here. If you can stand and give us your name and where you're from.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Don Brown. I'm from Marlborough County. I'm a board member with them as well, and I'm also a small business. Thank you all the panelists, and thank you for everyone, and thank you for SCLOBC for this opportunity. My question is, as a small business owner, and I actually own a cleaning business out in Marlborough County, my question to you is, with the services that you offer, have you worked with a cleaning business in the past? And if so, what are the certifications that you would recommend to them, if any, to show validity and legitimacy in order to procure larger contracts?
Thank you. Alan, Michelle?
So yes, I have worked with a cleaning business. I have worked with a cleaning business that uses certifications. My take around certifications with my certification friends is a little bit controversial, and because I'm a numbers guy, and all my certification friends who've had this conversation with me are laughing in the room because they've had it with me. All right, I think you should get the certification when the certification is going to produce money. So when the certification is connected to an opportunity for you to get a contract,
within the next 12 to 24 months, that's when I think you should get your certification. Or when you're ready to start pursuing contracts related to that certification. So I just don't think that you should get certifications, for the purpose of having certifications. And there are a lot of them out there. I saw a former colleague in the room, Chappelle Broom, who was with the Columbia Airport, and she had a document called Alphabet Soup. If you haven't seen it, go to Columbia Airport website and see if you could get it, where she explains the differences between the various certifications and when they're applied, right? And so a lot of times individuals get certifications, they just stack them to say that they have them without really understanding how those opportunities are how they're going to leverage those opportunities, right? And so yes, get certifications. They can give you a leg up to get access, to get into the room, right? They can give you what sometimes people say, a seat at the table, but we don't just want a seat at the table, right? We want to help prepare the meal and serve it, right? We've had a seat at the table for a long time. Now, let me figure out what's going to be served. Because when I get to figure out what's going to be served, now I'm talking about the deal before the deal. Y'all know about the deal before the deal, right? Those are the rooms that we want you all to be in with the certification so that you can take advantage of it.
Ms. Bree, may I just say, and y'all please forgive me, I can't sit down here and talk to people. Young man, on cleaning services.
Yes, sir.
Let me just say I thank our chair, Representative Thigpen, for having a conversation with Commerce and having a conversation with Scout about what we can offer and what they have to offer us, getting in on the ground level. There are so many opportunities that will exist from Scout and other companies. You need to be there in the initial discussion, and that is what we are advocating for every day, every time there's a company locating in South Carolina. You need to let your services be known that, hey, I do this, I can do that, and guess what? I'm bonded.
Yes.
I'm bonded. I'm bonded. And I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to sit down now.
Yes, sir. And just one other thing, as Alan said, he used the term alphabet soup. There are a lot of certifications out there, and as he said, we want to make sure they cost time and money, a lot of them. So we'll sit down with you and walk through what are your goals for your business and help you figure out which ones really make sense for you, and are they going to help you get business. And you're going to be hearing from our colleagues over at the Department of Commerce later. We work very closely with them and colleagues at the legislature and others. When these opportunities come up with companies like Scout, we try to help promote that and support people to identify where to go and how to go about applying for those opportunities.
Thank you so very much.
And I will say, with certifications, the entities that offer those certifications, they're there to support you. So organizations have, certifying bodies within them to do the certification, but they also have departments like the Office of Small Business Opportunities at Richland County, the Office of Business Opportunities in the City of Columbia, and, the district office, for the Small Business Administration, where they have individuals within those offices that are specifically there to help you not only leverage the certification for the opportunities, but take advantage of the different resources and services that they provide, like training. One of the most underutilized opportunities I think that exists is that South Carolina Department of Transportation, on an annual basis, will fund you to get training for something that you need to develop, an area that you need to develop in your business. If you've gone to 2 of their trainings, they'll reimburse you, right, for what would normally be a training opportunity, a continuing education opportunity for you to develop your skill sets. But that's something that's rarely utilized. So I'll take a step back
and say not just the contract, but when you can find an ability to use the resources that they provide in order to help you move your business, do the certification, right? Because I'm about saving money, right, and allowing you the opportunity to grow your business sustainably and profitably.
Thank you, Alan. Any more questions from the audience? One more question from Stephen, and then, and after Stephen's question, we'll ask each of you to give a final statement.
You have your hand up first, so I'd love for you to ask your question.
Thank you, guys. I didn't necessarily have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment. I think it's important that we do this. I want to say thank you to Alan and the folks from SBDC for the real help that they offer to businesses. I work with the Minority Business Accelerator with the Chamber, and these guys, they're in our communities. Richland County, the City of Columbia, these guys understand your pain, okay? And when I say that, I have watched these businesses come into the door and leave out different because of people like them, because they stick with them. They could be doing something else. Most of the work is volunteer work. And so I just want to publicly say thank you for all you do. And we appreciate you guys as partners, and we look forward to continuing to work with you all. So thank you all, but use them, please. I can't say that enough.
Thank you, Lynn.
Go ahead, Chappelle.
I'm sorry, since Alan mentioned me, I'm Chappelle Stevenson, and I used to be with the airport. I used to do DBE and all that stuff. Now I work with this guy, Genesis Energy Development. He does solar charging stations. He's on Benedict campus. But what I wanted to say about my ABC book that I did write about all the certification, you can have all the certification in the world, but it's who you know. It's who you know. I'm serious. You need to know people. The guy who ended up doing the fuel from the airport, when I met him, he didn't have no certifications in fuel. He said, Chappelle, what you need? I said, I need a minority who can do fuel. Wayne Sims went and got that certification, and now he doesn't only do fuel for the airport, he does fuel for Boeing. So it's who you know. You get to know the person, then you can find out what certifications they may need, because at the end of the day, people can walk in there don't have nothing, but they golf with somebody, and they walking out the door with a contract, and you come in there with 10 certifications, and they just picked up a mop yesterday. So it's who you know, baby. Get to know the right people.
Amen. Thank you, Chappelle.
Thank you, Chappelle.
So I'll be quick. So my question, I've talked to a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. When it comes to working with the SBDC, in the past, and I want to make sure I underline that, in the past, a lot of entrepreneurs who are getting started, they don't want to jump into the 30 to 40 page business plan that the SBDC recommends that you do when you're getting started with a business. Now, I know that a lean startup business plan is something that people look to now as a resource, but can you talk about like how far the lean startup business plan can get you as a small business or as an entrepreneur, and when you would have to pick up the pledging of building a 40-page business plan before you really grow your business?
Stephen, good to see you, man, and thank you for that layup. As part of the as part of the process at the SBDC, we do use the lean canvas. This is my most favorite tool because it really helps us to figure out, if you have a business model that you can leverage and grow into a sustainable business. I have clients that from our first meeting, we've used the lean canvas, and we talk about, lean canvas talks about your problem solution, right? Your key performance activities, your unique value proposition, what customers you're going to serve, right? Your costs and your revenue streams in relationship to that. I talked to a customer, a previous client yesterday who I talked to in 2019, and he said, Alan, I'm still using my lean canvas. And so the lean canvas is a tool, right, that you can utilize no matter what stage you're in your business, no matter what decision you're making around your business. If you have an updated and validated lean canvas, that canvas can be utilized to help you make a decision. The 40-page, 30-page business plan is really only utilized when you're trying to get financing or funding, or you're trying to explain to someone who's not familiar with your business where the opportunity lies within your business and how you're going to succeed. And a major component of that are your financial projections. which, at the SBDC, particularly in this area, we are excellent at doing.
And let me say this. Those group of individuals that I summoned to my office at the conference room,
About 6 weeks ago
6
now.
weeks ago, and it was just about that. I've been hearing from constituents, the process is so, They wasn't using words, it was just, So I said, well, let me see if I can do something about that. That's when I contacted these individuals. One of the young persons that I was helping, retired Army person, who was using his retirement and part of his whatever else you want to call it, to start his business. Now, let me tell you about that young man's business. And I wasn't going to do this, but if you allow me, I will. He started off with two or three Porta Johns. Now, maybe this is the wrong time to talk about a Porta John, but
just talk about it briefly. Can you talk? Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
He's now, what you got, about 75 or 80 Porta Johns, and he's in the business the right time. There are multiple companies that is built. There's building all around the state of South Carolina. So he is in on, and even with the city of Columbia, he is in on the cutting edge. He has a service that could be of service to all of you, and especially to the building community. And going back to those businesses that you want to start, look and see and do your homework, whether or not this is actually a service that is needed, and that you don't have a million other persons wanting to provide the same service in a small geographical area. So again, I'm gonna sit back down, but I want to thank you.
Well, and we can help you with understanding your industry and doing your homework. We have these research tools that Alan mentioned, and we can do some pretty good studies for you to help you understand all of that data. And, I would also say times have changed. So, if you look back over maybe the last 10 years, what lenders require for a business plan isn't necessarily the same as it used to be. And depending on what your need is, like Alan said, you may only need a lean business canvas. If it's something more sophisticated to that, you might have to do a larger plan, but we can help walk you through what the options are and what makes sense for you at the point you're at in your business and what your goals are.
Yeah, if I send a 40-page business plan to the city of Columbia, Aisha, I'll probably get a call. Alan, what is this? Wow, we don't need all of that, and that's really an important note. What Michelle said about what we try to do with our small business clients is fit you, meet you where you are, from the perspective of the type of funding or financing that you need in order to help your business succeed. We're going to help you go to those funding sources, and then based on what those funding sources need, help you provide that. We have a funder that we work with, the Business Development Fund, the Business Development Corporation. Well, they only need a 24-month cash budget. They don't need a whole profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flows. When it comes to the financials, they want a 24-month cash budget that shows you're going to be profitable to repay the loan. And that's because they're working with SBA programs which provide guarantees for the lenders.
Thank you so much. Alan Brown with the South Carolina Small Business Development Center, also Michelle Abraham, South Carolina Small Business Development Center State Director, and of course, Senator Vernon Stevens, District 39, Berkeley, Calhoun, Colleton, Dorchester, and Orangeburg counties. Thank you all so much for all of the great information that you've shared with us today. Thank you. We also want to thank Dominion Energy for being a sponsor of the annual Minority Business Forecast here at Brooklyn Baptist Church, South Carolina Chamber. We're getting ready to hear from them. Enviro Ag Science, Dr. Lynn, we're going to hear from him a little bit later. Also want to acknowledge a couple of people. Past chair of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, Patricia Hannigan, watching online, and also everyone else that is watching. Coming up right now, we are going to hear our lunch message from the folks from the South Carolina Department of Commerce. Please welcome Chantel Fryer, Director of Business Services. She joined the South Carolina Department of Commerce in 2006 and currently serves as the Director of Business Services, where she leads 8 teams that assist companies with a comprehensive suite of services to help them start, grow, and thrive here in South Carolina. Also, Tammy Green, we heard from her earlier. She serves as manager of the Supplier Outreach Program at the South Carolina Department of Commerce. She is responsible for providing strategic and innovative leadership for supplier outreach initiatives by providing support to South Carolina companies, large and small. And Sonia Barkley, she's the manager of the Small Business of South Carolina Department of Commerce. She is the Small Business Connectivity Lead and Liaison to Commerce's statewide partners and allies who help small business growth. Please welcome these folks from the South Carolina Department of Commerce.
Thank you, Trey. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to speak to you today. I am from the Department of Commerce, and just to provide a little bit of clarification, Commerce is the economic development agency in South Carolina. So many people do confuse us with the Chamber, which is more of a membership association, but we both do great work. And so South Carolina Commerce works with new and existing industries all across the state, and we just really have had a phenomenal year. Last year we had $10 billion in investment, thousands of jobs, and those jobs have a ripple effect all across our economy. So for durable manufacturing, you're really talking about for every 1 job created in durable manufacturing, there are 7.4 jobs created elsewhere in the economy. And so just think about that. That means that when Scout announced here in South Carolina 4,000 jobs and $2 billion worth of investment, that ripple effect goes to companies like those that are here in this room, others in transportation and logistics, restaurants that might open up to serve those workers. The ripple effect is just phenomenal. So who here thinks that Scout locating in the Midlands is transformational? Raise your hand if you think that could be possibly an impact. Yes. Very good. So I really do as well. We at Commerce, many of us are either from this region or have lived in this region for a long time, and this is the type of thing that we see accelerating the pace of South Carolina's economy, because electric vehicle manufacturing is really taking hold and the pace is really accelerating. So to I guess, exemplify that fact, think about it. This is the 3rd OEM, the 3rd original equipment manufacturer for passenger vehicles in South Carolina. So BMW and Volvo are other examples. BMW just came out with an economic impact study, $26 billion. That's $26 billion. One of the representatives or senators early on said our state budget is $30 billion. So one company in the Greenville-Spartanburg region has a $26 billion impact. So think about that cascading effect out into our economy. And I really think that a lot of this is due to our team, South Carolina, the secret sauce that makes everything possible, and that's the elected officials in this room and those serving in the legislature, our council members, all the people who make these sorts of things happen. So it's our businesses who are ambassadors to Scout and to others who come into the community and want to see the folks that they're going to live with, where their children are going to go to school. It is really important that we all be ambassadors and speak with a a proud voice about South Carolina. The other thing is our communities and our allies are going to have to work together to figure out how we're going to get this workforce trained and educated so that by 2026, when the company is operational, that we have that pipeline of students who is ready to engage. And so that it just really is, I think, a phenomenal time in our state's history. To also share another fact, in the last probably 6-8 months, we've seen investment from 9 companies with $10 billion worth of investment and 8,280 jobs. And this is just in the electric vehicle sector. This is not any of our other announcements. So I really want to, emphasize that fact that electric vehicle manufacturing is transformational for South Carolina's economy. And so one of the selling points for Scout locating here, our Secretary of Commerce, Harry Lightsey, came up with a logo, and it says, "The future of Scout starts with SC." Don't you love that play on words, the play on the letters, South Carolina and Scout? So that really just, made them invest, made them see how serious we were. And so business services, the team that I manage, we really do work with Scout. We have an industry liaison. Her sole function is to be the representative that helps the company get started up. And there's a lot to a startup for a company like Scout. They themselves are a startup. They have 30, 40 employees. They're scaling up. They're going to be hiring. They need those corporate level folks. Then they're also backed by Volkswagen. So just because they're a startup doesn't mean that they're not capable of delivering this ambitious product, which is electric vehicle, a pickup truck, and a SUV that will be manufactured right here in the Midlands. So please be, assured that Scout has the capacity to deliver because of the Volkswagen backing. And so we work along with our allied partners, our friends at SBDC and others, to guide companies along the way, along their journey as they start, grow, and thrive in South Carolina. We're the bridge, we're the connector. We have access to all of our state resources, and we regularly are in touch with them. So we provide, again, no cost or free services to our businesses across the state. So whether it's funding, resources, technical assistance, you're getting probably a flyer delivered to your table, or you probably already have it. But I just want to point out quickly that there are 8 teams just in the business services division that can help companies with things like recycling, small business, supplier outreach. You'll be hearing from these 2 ladies in just a minute. Trade, we help companies export. There's funding available for that, by the way. Workforce, we have 12 regional workforce advisors who are all across the state working to build that talent pipeline. Emergency management, we have an EV coordinator, Eddie Cogdill, who has been sitting on the EV work group. We have an existing industry program that helps our manufacturers be more productive and profitable, and innovation. So those are just a few of the teams that we have. And I'd like to also recognize my colleagues, Amy Thompson, she's Deputy Director for Business Outreach. Mark Hendrick is our Government Affairs, and Julie Kunkel is our Deputy Director for Small Business and Innovation. So please feel free to see those folks. And then just to give you an idea of where Scout is in their life cycle, so groundbreaking for the company's EV plant is going to happen mid-2023. Right now, there's site preparation that's going on. They have to build that foundation for all that concrete to be poured so that all the machinery, which is very sensitive and has robotics and all of that, they have to have that level, really strong foundation underneath the concrete. So what that means is that they'll need to hire a general contractor. And so that general contractor will come, that'll be the next thing in the life cycle. And then they'll build out the facility, they'll start the vehicle production, and that won't be until the end of 2026. So like I said, we have a couple years to get all of this stuff ready in the pipeline. And then they don't currently have the general contractor, but they are going to be seeking one. So that's another part of the process that Tammy and Sonia will help amplify, how you get ready to be a supplier to Scout. So to help Scout localize its supply chain, Tammy Green is our supplier outreach manager, and she's going to be talking to you about those resources available to companies. And then Sonia Barkley is going to talk about these small business resources that are available as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy and let her expound upon the supplier outreach plan.
So thank you. I don't even know where to start because there's so much that was said today, and I just want to make sure that you guys know that we're here and we're ready to support small business and minority businesses. So again, from a supplier outreach standpoint, I don't think many folks know that the South Carolina Department of Commerce has a supplier outreach program. And what does that mean? It means that for all of those new announcements that are coming into the state, my team, small team, the green team, we help support those large companies that are coming into the state. We help them support them by helping them source locally. And that is from everything from pre-construction all the way through actually making the whatever it is that they are supposed to be making. A couple examples of that is Volvo. So we know that Volvo landed several years ago, and our team helped support them from pre-construction, helping them locate suppliers. The goal is that we don't want our South Carolina companies to look outside of the state to find local support, right? We want to keep that in. Yeah, we want to keep that in the state as much as we can. Now, there are going to be some instances where we just can't find it locally, and we're very upfront with companies when we talk about that. You know, another company that we've helped, and I'm just going to give a couple examples, Oshkosh Defense. They're up in Spartanburg. Did you guys know that Oshkosh Defense is going to be rolling out an electric mail truck for the U.S. Postal Service? So our team, help support them by helping them source locally. And that, you know, you would be surprised of all the different types of services that companies will need, but a company of that size, all the way from landscape and janitorial, all the way up through actually making the mail truck. The last company that I can talk about more recently, Gallo Winery. If you drink wine, you probably have had some part of the Gallo family. So they have a distribution center up in Chester. Now, our team worked with Gallo Winery for about a year before they actually landed in South Carolina. A year ahead of schedule, we were working behind the scenes, meeting with them, their California team. Every other Friday, we were on a call, identifying what types of suppliers they were looking for, and we helped make that happen. So we do offer lots of opportunities to support small, local, medium-sized companies. So let's talk about Scout. That's what everyone wants to talk about. Chantal mentioned that Scout is backed by VW, but they are a startup, so it is going to take time. There is more than enough piece of the pie to help support and to ensure that you all have opportunity to meet with them and to do business with them. So I did talk briefly about the outreach events that we will be conducting. My team, supplier team, we're going to get the help of Sonia's team and all these partners in the room, and even some partners that we haven't identified yet, right? We want to, again, bring all of you into the room, make sure that you have all the resources available to you, and make sure that you have a seat at the table or you have an opportunity when the time comes to be able to do business with Scout. But again, not only Scout, we have Envision, we have Redwood, we have so many companies in South Carolina. Everyone is kind of fixed on Scout, but just know that there's a lot of companies out there that we can help support. So I talked about the initiative. Again, this initiative is in partnership with Richland County and other partners. So just want to make sure that you guys know we're here to help educate, help develop, and help provide sourcing opportunities for minority companies, small companies, medium companies of all sizes. Let's see. Talked about the info sessions. Another thing, in case you guys are not aware, right? There's a portal on the South Carolina Department of Commerce's website. We have flyers on every table that gives you a link to the Scout portal. So if you want to do business with Scout, whether you're large, medium, or small, you need to go to that portal and fill out your information. Now, we have advertised this portal in the press release. We have sent it out to all the partners that are in the room, and to date, we only have about 8% of minority companies that have signed up. So we need your help. We need you to help spread the word about doing business with Scout. There's also a portal out there for Envision, and my team will be talking with Redwood in the next few weeks to see if we're going to get a portal set up for them as well. As these new companies come into the state, depending on the size, we set up that portal. And when Scout is ready to do business with suppliers, that's going to be the first place that we go to for all types of suppliers. Let's see. Lastly, I just want to make you guys aware of, again, I talked about these events that we offer for all companies, right? We do B2B events where we have OEM tier 1s in the state that will come together. We do a B2B for the automotive industry every February. If you are part of Source SC, which is our online database, you'll be in the know. But not only if you're not a part of Source SC, again, we send out all this information to our partners. So every partner in the room, any event that we host, we send that information out to them and ask them that they push it down to you all as well. We talked about B2B, we do outreach events. I do want to give a shameless plug to Dino. I think Dino is still here. So Dino is one of our small businesses, and at any opportunity that he has a chance to come to one of our events, he is there. Dino, can you just? So last year in October, we offered a manufacturing summit. It was in Isle of Palms. We had large manufacturers present and an opportunity for local suppliers to come meet with them in a speed dating type event. Dino got off of a plane, I think the night before, drove down and did not have any appointments and was there and present and networking, and that's what it's all about. So sometimes we offer these events where large manufacturers are present and you think that you're going to do business with that large manufacturer, but you may end up doing business with a medium-sized company that may fit your wheelhouse a little bit better. And Dino said to me, he's like, man, I just made this one connection right here. This was worth my time. I can leave now. So, and you know, putting those events on, you know, that really excites me, right? That's what I get paid to do. I love to hear that. So you'll be surprised on the different connections that you make, but you have to be intentional when you go to these events. You have to make sure that you're networking. I talked about Source SC again. Those resources are on the table. Feel free to sign up. We talk about, you know, your tax dollars at work. All of the things that we offer are at no charge to you. And lastly, I just want to encourage you all to sign up for our BizFeed newsletter. That is also, there's a link on the flyer on your table so that you'll be in the know. Get connected with the South Carolina Department of Commerce through Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Again, transformation is happening in South Carolina, and we want to ensure that you guys are ready. I appreciate your time. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Sonia Barkley, who will talk about small business.
Good afternoon, everyone. How many in the room knew that there was a small business component to commerce? Very few. So here I am, So I'm here for you for small businesses. Again, my name is Sonia Barkley. I'm the manager of small business. I like to think of myself as the bridge, the connector, the lead connector for the state of South Carolina and lead liaison for most of the companies that are here, for our allies and our partners. So when you don't have anywhere to go, I heard so many times that you don't know what you don't know. Now you know. So call me. I am here to help you make those connections to all the resources that you need. We have great partnerships with the SBDC, with SCORE, with Apex, with all these different places. And sometimes you just don't know where to go to get the information that you need. Please start with Commerce. I'm a team of 2, so there is a small business coordinator as well. Her name is Andrina King, formerly with Richland County Library, who served in a similar capacity with small business resources. So we have a wealth of information to share with you and be able to connect you to those resources to help you either start or grow your business. So let me get back to my notes. So I'd like to just share a few of the small business program components with you to help minority and small business owners regarding the Scout announcement. So information sessions will be held to provide educational and technical assistance to small businesses that are not yet ready to do business with Scout directly as a Tier 1 supplier, but ready to scale up to be a part of the Scout experience. These sessions will better prepare and position small businesses to take advantage of opportunities to do business with Scout through partnerships with Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. Session topics may include, but they are not limited to, business certifications, the value of being recognized as a minority-owned business. For an example, there was an opportunity at one of the airports here in the state who was looking for tow trucks. They needed to have a minority-owned business, and they were looking for that specifically. Visually, I can see the minority-owned businesses, but I had no resources to tap into because they were not certified, they were not bonded, or anything else in order to do business with the airport. So I had to reach out to other statewide partners to see what they had in their databases to see how we could help, but it was very difficult at that time because of the certification and not having that backing that you need to do business with the airport. Another thing that we will cover is capability statements, the one-pager that demonstrates to Scout and any other business that comes here that the business is capable of performing the task and to meet expectations. You have to be capable and ready for that. Better to be proactive than reactive, better to prepare for that and lay the groundwork on the front end so when these opportunities do come your way, you're able to bid on them and everything else. So a lot of times when people would like to grow, owners would like to grow their business, and as I meet with them, talk to them, see what their vision is for their business, I find out there's maybe marketing is more so better for them. They just need better marketing tactics. And when we talk about scaling up and growing, can you handle the capacity to the community that you're trying to reach, to the customers that you're trying to reach? So we have those type of conversations. Another thing is partnerships and subcontracting. I know that was mentioned earlier. It's very important to do that, and I know as small business owners, we like to kind of keep things close and not partner with the bigger companies that can give you those opportunities, but we'll have some training and technical assistance available through our partners as well, with the county and the Apex and other SBDC as well to help you get ready for that. So those collaborations offer win-win opportunities for both companies involved. Most importantly, your help is needed. Your help is needed in spreading the word to minority-owned businesses in your communities and in your networks that South Carolina Department of Commerce supports them, and that we are here to help them connect to free resources that can help companies scale up, be included, be visible and viable assets, not only to Scout, because I know Scout is the main thing we're talking about today, but we want you to be prepared for any company that decides to make South Carolina their home. Thank you so much for your time today and the opportunity to share a little bit about the small business program. There's so much. I'm busting at the seams. I got a book of notes from everybody that's talking, and for all the small businesses that are here, please stop by. I hear a lot of great things from the trucking company that was over here. I hear some information over there, but I'm very excited. You do have resources. And the thing is, you don't know what you don't know, but you can start with Commerce, you can start with the programs and the small business program, and we'll help connect you to those resources that you need to start and grow. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, so very much. Thank you for all of that great information. Before we go to Benita, Michelle Abraham had something quick that she wanted to share with us, and she said she's going to be 1 minute. If you remember, Michelle is with SBDC.
I just wanted to let everybody know that we commissioned Dr. Joey Van Essen, who is one of the lead economists in the state, to do a study for us looking at the ongoing and emerging impacts of COVID on small business. And he's completed that study, and we're going to be having an event here in Columbia on April 21st at 8:30 a.m. at the Girl Scouts of America building to present those results. And this is part of what we try to do to make sure we're on top of what your needs are and how we can help you. We'll be asking audience members to give feedback as well. So if you go to our website, you can sign up there, but I just wanted to make you aware of that information. Thanks, Trey.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. One of the major industries African Americans have excelled in is toiling the land. Often the main workers on a farm, African American men and women, were innovators, but not recognized in their hard work or contributions. That's why it is so especially gratifying to hear our next speaker. Personally, I have seen her work to transform her own life with food, and then to grow and create products to help others to do the same. Those efforts have led her to care and carry out and carve out her own unique path of teaching and educating men, and especially women, to learn the importance and to grow and eat to live. Please welcome the 2023 South Carolina Black Farmer of the Year, Miss Benita Clemens.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. I'm gonna make sure I only speak for a few minutes. Y'all see I've come bearing gifts, right? My family say I act just like my grandma because she always held things in her hand. I always carry food in the car, so that's me. I have become my grandmother. First, I want to give an honor to, all praises to God. And then I want to honor our ancestors who were good stewards of this land in this great country called America. We toiled the land, we were good stewards, as I just said, and we worked this land for hundreds and hundreds of years for free. When I go to large farms, that's the first thing that crosses my mind, that they had labor for about 400 years. They didn't have to pay labor. So what if every business in here today did not have to pay labor? If you didn't have to pay labor for labor. Yes. Big time profit. So again, I want to give honor to those ancestors who, again, helped to make this a great country by working for free. We all, again, know how important labor is. So did you know that only 2% of the population are farmers? However, 100% of us eat. Everybody in this room eats. How many people in here are farmers? I see 2, 3, 4, 5, about 2%, but all of us eat. What does that mean? The average age of a black farmer is 65 years old. So can I get my 65-year-old black farmer to please stand and let's give him a hand? This is the average age. So if 100% of us are eating, it's only 2% of us doing the work, and we are 65, average age of 65, what does that mean? And did you know that with the black farmers, over 50% of the food is sometimes left in the fields. Because guess why? They don't have the resources to pay for the labor. Remember I was talking about that free labor earlier? Well, it's not free anymore. There's a cost to it. There's a price. So a lot of it stays in the field. And if, for those of you who know me, ooh, I'm sorry, Trey, I forgot to hit the time. Sister, let me know when my 10 minutes are up. So for those of you who have grown up on the farm, you know how hard that work is, right? So I get a lot of people say, I'm never going back to the field. It's hot out there. What they mean is they don't like struggle farming. But guess what? Farming is a business. That's why I'm here, because it is a business. Unfortunately, some of our farmers were not trained on that side. They know the craft. They know how to grow the food, but they didn't have some of the training that they need on the other end to make it a business, to understand that they could thrive being a farmer with it being a business. So again, nobody wants to struggle farm. So one of the things that I decided to do, you know, I hate sometimes when people come to me with a lot of problems or they never have a solution. So one day I really got sick and tired of being sick and tired of hearing myself fuss and argue about the cost of food prices going up. So one day I said, what are you going to do about it? Because I'm sick, I'm by myself in my kitchen. So Benita, what are you going to do about it? Because I'm sick of hearing you every day complain about the cost of food going up. So I decided at that moment to go back to my roots. And I started visiting farmers. I grew up on a farm. My granddaddy was a farmer, but of course I grew up and went to Benedict, got all cute, said I wasn't going back out there. I'm not going to do that no more. But after being ill, I realized that I had to go back to my roots and eat a certain way so that I could heal again. And so food is our medicine. And I used that to get back again to good health. And so I started farming, and I started noticing that there was a lot of struggle farming. Then I started visiting farms all over the state of South Carolina. And I only found 2 that were not struggling. Just 2. And I said, okay, there's a problem. It's a big problem. So with big problems, you got to have big solutions, right? So again, my little solution. So my solution to me, stop fussing about the cost of food, was for me to grow my own food. My solution to try to help South Carolina's economy and help all of us is to jump full force into the farming business. So I started growing. So it's got to be a better way, because it was sometimes hot out there and I was struggling. I started going to classes, and I started learning about the business side of farming. So one of the things that I did, I started growing hibiscus. And then I did what they made it a value-added product. So I took a product, hibiscus, and I made tea. Bonita's, because I couldn't think of another name, Bonita's hibiscus ginger tea, of course. And then I learned that this tea has a lot of healing properties. So that was right up my alley. So now I'm finding my groove. So you know, the tea business is a billion-dollar industry. Billion. With a B, capital B. So I started understanding the business side of farming, and I said, well, let me capitalize on this. And then I wanted to start teaching other farmers about this. Because again, they knew the craft. They know the craft. And I'm so amazed at the knowledge that we are unfortunately allowing to leave us. So if you know of any farmers, please get to them now so that you can plan. Write down what they're doing. Write down what they have done so that we can also help them from losing the land. I can give you a lot of statistics, but we all know that a lot of land has been stolen. We've been cheated out of it. And so it's incumbent upon us, those of us who are in the room, I'm going to say under 65, if you're 65 or older, take a break. Put the work on the younger ones, because one of the solutions is to get young people in the fold. So one of the things I decided to do was I got on a board for the John Della Howe School of Agriculture. By show of hands, who know of John Della Howe? Okay, so that's not enough people. John Della Howe is the only residential agricultural school in the country. And I say residential agriculture for high schoolers, 11th and 12th graders, just like the governor's schools for performing arts and math and science. There's one for agriculture. And they have the state of the arts. Everything they need to be successful in this business of farming. So if you know of any juniors and seniors in high school or rising juniors and seniors, please, they can contact me, and I can make sure that they get in this school. But we have to have more in the pipeline. So we got to get some younger ones. We got to have some more in the pipeline. And another things I decided to do for this problem is to create a new whole food system. And so I decided to ask women, black women in particular, to join a movement. And some people say, why black women? Well, in the state of South Carolina, black women have the worst health statistics. And so because farming and good food is medicine, I said we got to learn how to grow our own food, because the first line of defense is good food. And because of our history of agriculture in this country, it needs to be healed. And what better way to get healed than to go to the source? And so I created this group, and we call ourselves pharmacists. So I have some pharmacists with me today. Could y'all please stand? A few of them with me today. So just know over the next 5 years, there will be 10,000. Tiffany, raise your hand. Over the next 5 years, there will be 10,000. The goal is to have 10,000 black women growing their own food for their health and their wealth. Because again, agriculture is the #1 industry in the state. Billion, just like their tea industry, billion. So first we got to create the good health so that we can create the wealth. So again, those were two of my solutions to these big problems. But I knew, again, I just can't do it alone. It's going to take more than pharmacists. So I joined some organizations. One was the Carolina Vegetable Co-op. One was Axiom Farms Co-op. And one was the South Carolina Black Farmers Coalition, which is the organization that I am speaking on behalf of today. We're about 5 years old. We were started by Sister Jermaine Jenkins in Charleston. And we are, again, have come together as a coalition. And I have some handouts. Could pharmacists please come up here and pass these handouts? We want you and we need you to support the South Carolina Black Farmers Coalition so that we can begin to rebuild and tackle this big solution, this big problem. So I want to thank Representative Annie McDaniel. I want to thank the Black Caucus for giving me a few minutes to talk about the state of black farmers. Again, right now, they're struggling. And I want to ask that black farmers be put high on the list when it comes to appropriations, when it comes to resources. Again, they know the craft. They just need more support on the business side. And again, from what I've heard all throughout the day, we have everything we need in this room to help all of us be successful. Because until all of us are successful, none of us are successful. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Benita. I remember when Benita first started and that hibiscus tea, and she, made that hibiscus tea, and you could not keep it. She could not keep it. I tried to keep it. It was the truth. I couldn't get enough of it. So I'm so glad and so proud of how she has evolved. Like I said, she first was just trying to take care of her health, and then it evolved into helping other people take care of their health also. So congratulations to you, Benita, and everything that you're doing. Dr. Lewis Lynn is going to come to us now. He is our keynote speaker. He's chairman and founder of Enviro Ag Sciences, one of our proud sponsors for this afternoon. The Darlington County native has served on the board of his alma mater, Clemson University. You can see he's all since 1988, where he is also an adjunct professor of horticulture. Dr. Lynn is a member of various national boards, including BB&T Bank, the American Horticulture Society, the National Association of Minority Contractors, and he's also a commissioner on the South Carolina Workforce Development Board. With almost 40 years of experience in all aspects of landscape and construction activity, Dr. Lynn has positioned his company, Enviro Ag Science, to be recognized for its commitment to social and civic responsibility. His beautiful wife of 50 years, Audrey Lynn, has been on a cancer cure journey since September of 2021, and thankfully, after 2 rounds of radiation and chemo treatment, she is now in remission and living by the mantra, God's got it. Yeah. Dr. Lewis Lynn is currently working on his book, My Life, My Leaders, My Lord, The Wisdom of a Country Boy, which is expected to be published by Thanksgiving. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of our sponsors, Dr. Lewis Lynn, chairman and founder of Enviro Ag Sciences.
Did I say go Tigers? Giving honor to my Lord Jesus Christ, it's good to be here. It's indeed an honor to speak to this august group. I consider myself amongst friends. I see you who've walked a mile in my shoes. I grew up a farm boy in Darlington. My dad was a sharecropper farming until 1957, and I grew up during the 70s. The world was in a mess. Vietnam War, race riots, segregation, integration, evolution, revolution, shooting rockets to the moon, gun control, suicide. The only people talking about love was the hippies and the preachers. Sounds a lot like today, doesn't it? Enough about my past. I'm now over 70 years old, 74. I'm a senior citizen, and I'm also a textbook baby boomer. I'm that guy who lived out my 20s during the 70s, and now I'm living out my 70s during the 20s. Frankly, I'm looking forward to joining my neighborhood Romeo Club. It ain't what you think it is. Romeo Club, retired old men eating out. The title of my speech today is On Business on Purpose. In Business on Purpose, pay your civic rent. Beloved, it's a blessing to be a blessing. Today we've heard a lot of reports and encouraging, suggesting that we can expect a bright future in South Carolina. And we've also heard a lot of wise counsel about the state of business in South Carolina. More importantly, we've been encouraged to be prepared to participate and take advantage of these opportunities. As several speakers alluded to, and I'm going to say it again, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're on the menu. Those of you who know me, realize, and you know that I'm an avid Clemson fan, go Tigers. I've got a lot of orange clothes in my closet, and everything I drive got a tiger paw posted on it. So you might think that my favorite color is orange. No, it's green. Most people, though, don't realize that money is both a test and a trust from God. Having money doesn't change anything. Jerks become bigger jerks, and nice guys become nicer. When I survey a list of the happiest moments of my life, I realized that most of them didn't involve money. You know, I've concluded that the metric by which God will measure my life, it won't be in dollars and cents, but it'll be by the lives I've touched. Now, if you're in business, especially, and I've heard especially if you have government customers, then you have a duty. You have a duty to pay your civic rent and give back. Now, let me break that down to you. We're an agricultural state. If you feed from the public trough, then you have a duty to put something back in it. Specifically, on giving back, choose an issue or an organization that you want to support, and then give of your time and of your treasure. And then only be concerned about the giving side. The good Lord and IRS will take care of the receiving side. I have committed my life and my business to the greater good of my community and to the Lord. I'm in business on purpose. Follow your calling. Follow your calling. The Lord doesn't just call the qualified, He qualifies the called. However, if God calls you to be a street sweeper, don't you dare stoop to trying to be a king. And you can only lead others as far as you're willing to go. As a leader of my company is one of those, we've done okay. I've been stuck as a tweener, too big to be little and too little to be big. But as leader of my company, I'm charged with the opportunity to go first. I get it. The most powerful way to lead is by example. A leader is one who knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. Through my business, I'm often used to deliver a job, a paycheck, a word of encouragement, a blessing to others. I've come to realize that people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. My business is my ministry. I even took classes at CIU, Columbia Bible College, in something called marketplace ministry. The marketplace is my congregation. The marketplace is where I put feet to my faith. I am in the Esther season of my life for such a time as this. I use my business and board positions as opportunities to give public praise and prayer, proclaiming the name of Jesus. I follow God's commandments to stand in the gap for biblical morality and holiness. So let's talk about some things on mentoring. When somebody mentioned in their speech about mentoring, I'm mentoring. Get one, be one, reach one, teach one. A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. Beloved, each of you has someone who challenged you, who encouraged you, who showed you, or who invested in you to go into business or politics. Follow your heart. Follow your heart. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. And don't be afraid or ashamed of asking for help. And ask for help, because help is best defined by the recipient, not the bestower. I've benefited from government and private sector organizations with small business programs that foster diversity and inclusion. Now, I want to share with you some life lessons and business lessons I've learned from my business, things that are going to be in my upcoming book. And the title of my book is My Life, My Leaders, My Lord, The Wisdom of a Country Boy. Let's go through some of them. Good judgment comes from experience, and a lot of that comes from bad judgment. Education is what you get when you read the fine print. Experience is what you get when you don't. After all is said and done, most of the time more is said than done. The compliment, well done, is a much higher compliment than well said. A barking dog is more useful than a sleeping lion. You can take the day off, but you can't take it back. And you don't have to be sick to get better. And on this theory of the early bird catches the worm, I think we consider too much the good luck of the early bird than the bad luck of the early worm. Now, on teaming and contracts, if you can trust a man, then a written contract is a waste of paper. Also, if you can't trust a man, a written contract is a waste of paper. Trust and character, they don't show up on the balance sheet. If you know, in my career, I've had a lot of partners, and I've learned that it's probably best for you not to choose a partner who doesn't share your values. Communication and trust, they fall at the same time. And it's easier to see eye to eye when you're face to face, and that might include Zoom nowadays. Glass, china, and reputation. Glass, china, and reputation are easily cracked, and they never mend well. If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Let me explain that with a little story. A mountain lion, after chasing a herd of cattle, then catching and killing and eating an entire bull, the mountain lion felt so good, he just started roaring. He kept it up until a hunter came along and saw the dead bull's carcass and shot him, killed him. Now the moral of that, if you fool a bull, keep your mouth shut. On friends and associates, the people who light up my life, they usually know where the switch is. And if a relationship has to be secret, you ought not be in it. And don't take yourself so seriously, nobody else does. Publicity. Publicity is like poison. It doesn't hurt you unless you swallow it. And in life, in business, in friends, in friendships, never ruin an apology with an excuse. On work and career, I practice and encourage that no matter how you feel, get up, dress up, and show up. And don't confuse activity with progress. And in business with my competitors, I'll share this with, never interrupt your competition when they're doing something wrong. Let them at it, let them have it. And be ready for opportunities. We've heard folks talking, be ready for opportunities. In fact, chase opportunities, some of you call that selling. Great opportunities always look bigger passing by you than they did coming at you. And price your services and your products fairly. After 38 years in business, I tell my hard dealing and contentious clients, and they're negotiating on price, I just tell them, hey, buddy, you can't be the buyer and the seller both. You can only be one of them. Past performance. Past performance is the best predictor of future performance. And there is no get-rich-quick scheme. Best way to double your money, fold it up, put it back in your pocket. I attribute my success in business to reading, to surrounding myself with people smarter than me, including all these folks who've offered advice, and to over-preparing and going with the flow. Now, I want to do a side word to employees. Scripture says, the Bible says, whatever your hand finds to do, verily, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Experience will tell you what to do, and confidence will let you do it. I sometimes say to poor performers, my company has about 60 employees, and I say to sometimes poor performing employees, I'll say, Billy, John, how long you been working here, not counting tomorrow? I believe that length of service should not be guaranteed, should not be the only guaranteed for continued employment. Ladies and gentlemen, a turkey on your plate is much easier to digest than a turkey on your payroll. On politics, as a Clemson trustee, I've had to deal with a little bit of politics to get elected. I've been elected, thankfully, to 9 four-year terms. This is my 35th year as a member of the Clemson Board of Trustees. I'm the trustee in charge of football, too. Just joking, just kidding. And let me take a point of personal privilege. Congratulations to the South Carolina Black Caucus for 50 years. This is your 50th anniversary. And for 35 of those 50 years, thank you, Black Caucus, for supporting and advising me on important issues at Clemson. I cherish and I take seriously my public service, and I readily incorporate my faith. I make every effort to use my Clemson board seat, other boards that I serve on, the Truist, BB&T now Truist board, to pay my civic rent and give back. Now, my politician friends, I've had to learn to practice a little diplomacy dealing with politicians. You know, grinning when it ain't funny, scratching when it don't itch. Practical politics and political correctness means ignoring facts. Listen to me. Throughout our government, we see that the penalty good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. And let me add a sidebar there's some educators in here. Let me add a sidebar for educators. As a Clemson trustee, and I'm talking K through 16, kindergarten through college, my advice and my concern is that to educate a man in mind alone and not also in morals is but to educate a menace to society, a trained crook. To our government leaders, our host today, do the good work that God has prepared for you to do. We want to be led by men and women who accept the role that you're your brother's keeper. We want you to foster government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, I know that you all expect and get opposition, but we the people encourage you to fight the good fight. Fight the good fight. No advance in politics, science, religion, or education has ever been made without controversy. We want a community of charity and compassion, to strangers, to the poor, the homeless, the needy, the lonely, the sick and shut in, the prodigal son, the wayward daughter. Charity and compassion to the least, the lost, the left behind. Now, let me close with a few more of these country boy gems. Consensus in business is essentially the absence of leadership. Oftentimes, my employees will say, they'll offer advice, and now we want to do this, let's vote on it. And my saying generally is, I may not be right all the time, but I'm the boss all the time. There is as much risk in doing nothing as there is in doing something. Shoot, it even takes effort to throw in the towel. And facts don't cease to exist because they're ignored. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but they aren't entitled to their own facts. Hard work without talent is a shame, but talent without hard work is a tragedy. Now, I love myself some college football. But sometimes I think that game was invented wrong. It combines two of the worst elements of American life: violence, tackling, and committee meetings, huddles. The journey continues. Let's finish well. The fact that you're here today, listen to me, the fact that you're here today says that you're blessed and highly favored. We're here as representatives of academia, commerce, religion, or politics. God said, and the Apostle Peter wrote, each one should use whatever gift he has to serve others faithfully, administering God's grace in its various form. Each of us has a gift, a talent, a means, a heart, a treasure to serve others and to contribute to the greater good of your local community or your global community. I challenge each of you to pay back or pay forward through your business or your position. All of your life has been but a time of preparation for this season of your life. Each of you will be held accountable, each of you, not only you, each of us will be held accountable for every good deed that we did or that we failed to do. Your deeds will either sustain or devastate your life's testimony. What's in your future? Next time you promote your business, perform a contract, speak to political peers or constituents, say to yourself, "Here, my Lord, send me." I could go on and on with these life nuggets and gems, but years ago, an old man told me, "Son, never miss a good opportunity to shut up." Beloved, pray with me. Pray with me. God, almighty and everlasting, creator and author of all things good, we come together this day to seek your wisdom, your guidance, your courage, your strength. Order our steps. Lord, teach us and use us to watch over, to pray for, to exhort, and stir up one another unto every good word and every good work. Lord, we offer your servant Aaron's priestly blessing of security, grace, and peace to one another. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Make it so, Lord. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Thank you.
Wow. Put your hands together one more time for Dr. Lynn. We want to thank him and all of our sponsors, including Dominion Energy, the Chamber, and all of you for coming out today. We have heard some great information, some information that can really transform each of our lives, both personally and professionally. But it's up to us to take the information that we have received and really do something about it. On behalf of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, we thank you so much. To bring closing words, please welcome again our chair, Representative Dr. Ivory Thigpen.
Thank you all for receiving me here at the end and the close of what we hope was an insightful and informative time. Again, time is very valuable. It's the only currency. Once spent, we can get no refunds. So we hope that this was a wise investment of your time. I definitely want to thank our keynote speaker, Dr. Lynn. Those insightful idioms and quaint colloquialisms, they will no doubt be quoted by many of us in the future as a and we will definitely be able to find them, if you didn't write them down, in the book entitled My Life, My Leaders, My Lord, this coming November. Let's give him another hand. And to all our panelists, Ms. Benita Clemens, Sonia Barkley, Tammy Green, Chantal Tall Fryer, to Senator Stevens, to Michelle Abraham, Alan Brown, Hamilton Grant, Bree Maxwell, Representative Cambrell Garvin, Will Frierson, Michael Jackson, and last but not least, Representative David Weeks. We thank them for the information they have provided. As stated earlier, we are celebrating 50 years of advocacy and service, not only to African Americans, but the state as a whole. The individuals who make up the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, we did not arrive here without the assistance and those who paved the road before us. We know that we all stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us. It was slightly after 1970 that 3 African Americans were elected to the General Assembly, the first since Reconstruction, and it was they who had the insight to bring that group of individuals together, knowing that we were stronger together than we are apart. That still remains true today. All the individuals that are here, no matter where you come from, what position you hold, what interests you have, we are stronger when we work together than we are apart. We have identified several things that are concerns. We give each person homework to put that, to document it, so that this isn't just a conversation that is spoken into the air, but we can come back with some action items and some things that we can do. We are one institution and organization. We cannot do everything by ourselves, but together we can strategize on how we can best support one another. The unique role that the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus has is that we, if no one else, should be able to bring awareness as well as provide partnerships and leadership so that all of South Carolina, let me say that again, all of South Carolina can have an opportunity not only to be at the table, but eat. Because it is a cruel punishment to have somebody come to the table, but they can't eat. That's torture. If I was in the place that I normally stand behind the mic, somebody might tell me to start watching my voice. But the point I'm trying to make in all sincerity is that there's a lot of work to do, right? It's a heavy load to lift, but I do believe we can, if nothing else, take major steps towards lifting up what needs to be lifting up and identifying it. We are committed to the work. I know that you all are committed to the work. We look forward to future opportunities to come together in this way. With that being said, again, I am Dr. Ivory Thigpen, current chair of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus. I know we had Representative Jermaine Johnson come in since I first asked representatives to be acknowledged. I want to acknowledge him. But you all, the benediction has been given. Go in peace, and let's go do some work. No, I can tell. Yes. Look forward to future conversations with you too.
Are you running this year?
Just come 24, yeah. Yeah.
I always like to support you guys.
Okay.
You guys make a way.
I have a fundraiser April 18th at Nexus Brewery. I'll make sure they will. All right.